Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's regular scheduled meeting of the Freeport City Council. It is Tuesday, September 2nd, 2025. We're running a little bit behind. It's actually 6:03. I know. At this time, I will declare that a quorum is present, and I will call this meeting to order. Councilman Rosso, if you don't mind, would you lead us in the pledge and the prayer?
Let's pray. Gracious Father, we are so grateful to be here today. We thank you, Lord, for giving us the activity of our limbs. We thank you, Lord, for this council, and we thank you for the city of Freeport. Lord, we ask that you would bless the city of Freeport, the state of Texas, and the United States of America. We thank God for protecting us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor
the
the Texas
Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, and you may be seated. At this time, ladies and gentlemen, we have citizens' comments. First one on my list is Mr. Ralph Frazier.
Good evening,
evening,
Mayor,
sir.
City Council members. My name is Ralph Frazier. First of all, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to serve on the Beautification Parks and Recreation Board. It's an honor to be a contribute to the future of Freeport. It's my understanding that Councilman Pena will be addressing the process for how board nominations are handled. I fully support this discussion because I believe change is necessary. There are passionate individuals in our community who want to see Freeport thrive, and we should ensure that they have the chance to bring their skills and dedications to the table. Working together, we can create a process that better reflects the voices of our residents and positions of our city of growth and success. If we want growth, we need to open the doors wider. Right now, there's talented, committed people in our community, people who care deeply about Freeport's future, who are being overlooked. We need a process that brings in fresh ideas, new perspectives, and voices of those ready to work towards the success of Freeport. Thank you for your time and commitment to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Kenneth Hayes.
Mayor and Council, Kenneth Hayes. I live at 414 Mystery Harbor. One thing I need to bring to all your attention, and it's been brought before, but 1495 is going to be widened by TxDOT. When they do, we've got a water line that ties in at 1495 that the city is going to have to relocate, and it's going to cost between $2 and $3 million. So I don't know if that's been passed on to any of this existing council, but Veolia knew about it and other council members have. So, but it needs to be something that y'all need to talk about.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mr. Manning Rollerson.
Good afternoon, Council. My name is Manning Rollerson. I live at 118 West 6th Street, Freeport, Texas. I come to the Council today to object against any water rate hikes. And the reason why. Not one of us caused this budget shortfall in this city. Not one of the residents. We didn't allow the stealing. We didn't allow the misappropriation of funds. You guys made the decision, prior members and some members that's here. You allowed them to get away with taking advantage of city assets and city funds. To keep coming to the taxpayers, to put the burden on the taxpayers is just wrong. We didn't create this problem. When the water rates was raised 2 times in 2022, we was against that, but you did it anyway. And we still have a budget shortfall. 5 out of 6 years. What's been happening for 5 years in the city of Freeport that they can't pay the bills? Or our budget is bad. When are we gonna recoup some of this money that walked out the door with non-disclosure agreements and severance packages? Why do it have to be on me? That's what I'm asking. Why do I have to continuously pay high bills because the city can't handle its business and run it properly? Why do any citizen around here have to do it? I get Social Security, disability, and veteran benefits. Tell me, do I have the money for a $7 increase in water rate? Tell me. You know what the government give a veteran and a disabled person? Nothing. And that's what they taking back. So tell me why it's okay to put the burden on the taxpayers every single time this entity has a bad budget shortfall. And it's just not Freeport. It's every city south of Angleton. Every last one of them. The prior administration stole everything or misappropriated everything. But what they do? Run back to the taxpayers. We need to pay this. Or this gonna happen, that's gonna happen, it's not my fault. Because when they cut off my lights, if I don't pay my bill, I gotta come up with the money. Not one person in this city pay my light bill or pay my water bill. You ain't gonna give me no free water like you did to people on Surfside. You're gonna give none of us free water. So why should we foot the bill of this budget shortfall with all the stuff that played out for the last 5 years in this council? My second thing is, when we gonna get housing? That's something else we need to address. The housing issue. To my councilman for Ward A, there is no deal that can be made for land that my grandparents paid for, and every grandparent in this city, for new communities. There's no kind of excuse for that, because then we were misled all those years of these new communities. There's nowhere in the world that should be zoned commercial, and we need the tax base. We need the growth. These industries not growing us. It hasn't worked for 57 years, and it's still not gonna work. We all can see it. I raised my kids 41 years here, and what changed?
Mr. Ollerson,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Make sure I'm not missing anybody, but I believe that was it. Next, ladies and gentlemen, we have the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, there's 2 items. 2A, action regarding the minutes of the August 18, 2025 meeting. And 2B, action approving the employee holiday calendar for fiscal year 2025 and 2026. Council, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, can we pull out section 2B for a minute?
You want to pull out 2B?
Yes, please.
All right. So for 2A, action regarding the minutes, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
Yes, I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Rosso. Council, any discussion needed on 2A? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously. 2B. Action approving the employee holiday calendar for fiscal year 2025 through 2026. Ms. Fisher.
Yes, this is the same number of holidays that we've had in the past. A few of the dates had to change because Thanksgiving doesn't fall on the same day every year. But there were no additions or subtractions to the holiday calendar.
Thank you, ma'am. Council, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the employee holiday calendar as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Council, any questions or discussion needed?
I have a couple of comments or questions.
Yes, sir.
I'm curious how our calendar compares to the county calendar, number one. Do we have any context on that?
Not in a few years. The last time that we added a holiday to the calendar, I did check and see how we compared then, but I have not checked since then because we haven't made any changes to it. I believe they have 14 days and we have 14 and a half. It's really close. Oh, 13.
So
Like I
county
said,
has-
it's been a few years since I checked.
County
the
has
last time we
13?
added. So, I'm sorry?
County has 13?
I believe so.
Okay. So I wanted to bring it up for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted to see how we compared with the county, number one. But the other issue that, that's come up is, I'm looking at these holidays, especially the ones, that fall on Mondays. And, when we have our facilities like our rec center or our museum, when folks are trying to utilize those vacation days, or excuse me, those same holidays to try to maybe get to know their city better, I'm just wondering if we can't have those particular departments open to the public so that they can actually use them on those holidays. And I wanted to make sure I made that point here as we move into as we're still in the budget cycle and we're trying to wrap it up, that if there's a way where we can do that with comp time.
That would be something that the directors of each department could address. I know the golf course, they can't be completely closed on a Monday. The only day that they're actually closed is Christmas. So any employee that works like that Monday holiday, then they take off a day later in the week.
Oh, the golf course isn't closed every holiday?
No.
Interesting. So that really underlines my question here about, we talk about the various services the city provides, and the museum being one of them, and the rec center as well, being intended for the community. Certainly on those days off, who wouldn't mind getting a workout in or a swim in at the rec center and/or a visit to the museum, especially since it's free and of no charge, and so they can benefit from it on the actual day that they too are also off. So I just want to make mention of that if we can look at that in the budget as we go into the next fiscal year. I think that makes sense. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Council, any other questions or comments?
Looking online, there are 14 holidays for the county.
Thank you, Mr. Pennington.
Yes, sir.
So we're in line. So council, I will call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously. Next, we have proclamations, presentations, and updates. First thing, we have a proclamation for the National Hispanic Heritage Month. Dan, you want to take this?
Yes, sir. This is a proclamation that the mayor will be signing. Whereas National Hispanic Heritage Month, I'm not quite sure I can say this word. So
Mes de Herencia Hispania.
that's exactly what I was going to say. It is celebrated from September 15th through October 15th each year in honor of the rich history, culture, and impactful contributions of Hispanic and Latino communities, including American citizens with roots in Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, Central America, South America. And whereas the observance began as Hispanic Heritage Week in 1968 under President Lyndon B. Johnson and was expanded to a 30-day celebration by President Ronald Reagan. It was subsequently made law on August 17th, 1988. The celebration begins on September 15th in recognition of the independence anniversaries of Costa Rica, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, followed by Mexico on September 16th and Chile in September 18th. And whereas of July 1st of 2023, the Hispanic population of the United States reached 65.2 million, representing approximately 19.5% of the national population, making Hispanics the largest ethnic and racial minority group in the nation. Additionally, from 2020 to 2024, the Hispanic population grew approximately 9.7%, driven both by births and immigration. In 2024, it is estimated around 68.1 million, or about 20% of the total U.S. population. And whereas, according to the City of Freeport's own 2024 demographic estimates, the Hispanic or Latino population comprises approximately 64.1% of the city's residents. And whereas, during National Hispanic Heritage Month, we came together to honor and celebrate the vibrant traditions of Hispanic and Latino families, including faith, hard work, community, patriotism, and to recognize their invaluable contributions towards strengthening our society. And whereas the City of Freeport is proud to observe
Mes de Herencia Hispania.
exactly, honoring the leadership achievements and cultural heritage of Hispanics and Latinos who are central to our city's identity and inclusive community spirit. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Jerry Kane, Mayor of the City of Freeport, on behalf of the city, encourage all residents to celebrate our diverse heritage and culture and to continue working towards the future that is more peaceful, inclusive, and prosperous for all. Therefore, I do hereby proclaim September 15th through October 15th as Hispanic Heritage Month.
Thank you, sir. And we have made it official with my signature. Um, 3B, upcoming events.
Yes, sir. We have Kiss Fest coming to downtown September 6th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. Coffee with a Cop at both Starbucks and McDonald's October 1st, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. National Night Out with the Freeport Police, Fire, and EMS at Freeport Municipal Park October 7th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And Fright Night 2025, Freeport Municipal Park October 23rd, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
A lot of good stuff coming up.
And I do believe the Hispanic Chamber rep is here, Mayor, if you'd like to recognize him.
There she is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gina, for all you do. At this time, it is 6:22. We're going to close this regular meeting and open a public hearing. Public hearing on the fiscal year 2025 through 2026 annual budget. Ms. Hurst.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We wanted to give the public another chance to come up, ask questions, or give comments on the proposed budget that we've been talking about. So at this time, anybody can come up and speak.
This is your turn. Come on, Mr. Ollerson.
Well, I want to reiterate on what I was saying. I don't think it's fair that we should have to take the budget shortfall and take up the slack for it. I understand the city is a municipality that has to operate off the tax dollars of the people, but there's a serious issue with past administrations, we're gonna put it like that. But I don't think to raise the water rate with $4 more or $7 more on the residents of Freeport. Freeport is under the federal poverty level, you know, so how is it possible that we can put on more, you know, more burdens on us? And that's the only objection that I have to the budget, is that it has to come out of us every time.
Thank you, Mr. Rollerson. Anyone else from the public? Ms. Oldham.
Good evening, Melanie Oldham, 531 West Brazos. Again, I want to actually compliment the City Council, Mr. Pennington, Ashley, for taking more time this year to give the public more opportunities to speak. I got to speak informally to several council people, just giving my 2 cents after talking to a lot of other people about the budget. And y'all have some hard decisions to make, but I do appreciate very much Ashley being, you know, willing to talk to anybody and try to explain, especially to me and others. And Mr. Pennington, thank you. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here and leading the council. But anyway, I'm glad I don't have to make these hard decisions on the budget, but I know y'all do a good job.
Thank you for that.
I'd like to piggyback on what Manny said. I want to go on record against raising the water rate in Freeport. Families and seniors are already stretched thin with high water costs of living. The last thing they need is another increase on such a basic necessity. Water is not a luxury, it's an essential. Raising the rate will put an unfair burden on our residents, especially those living on fixed incomes. I strongly urge this council to find an alternative solution in the budget rating rather than passing the cost down to the hard-working citizens. Freeport must be a city that protects its people, not the ones that makes it harder for them to live here.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public? This is your time to chime in. Going once. Going twice. Council, is there anything you would like to add before we move on?
Yeah, I have a quick question. You know, we're getting the feedback about the water rates, and I'm just curious, the vote that we took at the last meeting, puts that issue to rest, or is that still on the table for the council to consider?
It went in, I mean, y'all passed it the last meeting, so that's what will go into effect October 1st.
So that'll already be, I guess, pushed out onto the water bills and into the system?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I didn't know about that. The other question I'd have is that, I know we have this hearing here, and we're gonna try to vote on this, on the 15th?
Yes, sir.
If we can have one more hearing before. I know coming off the holiday, it's hard for everybody to get prepared for this meeting. I've never been a fan of the meetings on the Tuesday right after the Monday. I wish they'd push it one more day, but being that what it is, if there's any chance that we can have another meeting to go, another workshop, so that we button it all down before the 15th, I think that would be helpful. I know there's still a lot of discussion to be had about those various items that are on the budget. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Ashley can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we have to have 15 days notice on this meeting for final adoption. And so we don't have another 15 days to pass it before our charter requires us to pass it by the 15th. that sound right,
Yes,
Ashley?
sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir, that's correct. Because we proposed the tax rate at the last meeting, that's why we had to push the vote out to the 15th to begin with. And then I am putting a proposed hearing on that night as well. So I know it's the same night as the budget, but it will be there.
So, Mr. Pennington, are you suggesting that there's no legal ability to actually have another meeting?
That's my understanding. I think it's 15 days is what you have to have the notice out for. So even if we could do it tomorrow, it would have to be the 18th that we'd have to wait to vote on the budget. And the 18th, 3 days past, the charter required 9/15 passage date. So that's why we've had multiple public hearings. Not to brag, but most agencies are typically having 1, 2 at the most. And I think we're at 3 or 4 that night.
Yeah, that sounds right. I mean, there's been a lot. I know
Yeah.
that.
And so anyway, as far as being able to have another public hearing prior to the budget vote, we just don't have the time.
So in terms of any final changes to the budget, they would have to be done how, if at all? Or are we saying that whatever the budget is tonight is what's going to be on the agenda for the 15th?
Not
15th,
necessarily,
we
there
can
might be
sit
some
and
minor
change it
changes,
all night,
but,
yeah.
It's
right,
one
sorry.
conversation at a time.
Go ahead.
No, the 15th, we can sit and get it all right that night.
Okay. No, I just want to make sure I get verbiage right. Mr. Pennington, you just said, well, as long as it's minor changes. I'm looking for big changes to be, represented or reflected in the budget. In particular, we had the last meeting, the fire station, fire engine at 1.7 million, and that's a big ticket item. I'm hoping that one's not going to be in the budget such that we can't push back to say, hey, we'd like for that one to be pushed for another year or down the road until we can actually assess it. Looking at the various options that were discussed at the last meeting in terms of either the industrial side of sponsoring corporate sponsorships and other vehicles to meet those needs, especially if we're trying to move toward a hybrid fire department. And so I'm just curious that we're not saying, there's not a threshold. I guess a fair way to ask the question is, there's not a threshold or a limit of what can be changed between now and.
No,
the
there's
15th?
not a limit of what can be changed.
Okay. I just wanted to-
Primarily, what's been presented, it will probably be close to what that is, what's been represented. Some of that funding may get moved around if we can find other funding sources that apply. So, but for the majority of it, we'll present a budget to y'all that has the cuts already there. You won't have to make the cuts if you choose to pass that budget, or if y'all want to change that night. Any changes is possible.
Okay. Yeah, and, in addition to those budget cuts, we were looking at also ways to have additional revenue, whether that was raising the Gulf rates or for that matter, having an entrance fee at the beach. Were those particular parameters added to, or will those be provided to council to consider? And to have a fair assessment of what those metrics look like and how they impact the budget?
I'm not sure what the beach plan is, but I do know that the golf rates will be presented next time.
So will we be looking at the golf rates prior to the discussion of the budget so that we
The
can?
budget will be the last item.
Okay, so that we can incorporate any changes that we might deem, prudent?
The budget will be the last item.
Okay. I'm hoping that it won't be a heavy agenda where it's primarily the budget, so we don't have a 6-hour meeting maybe?
There are quite a few items on there.
Oh, is that right?
Drink your coffee.
Order in pizza. Thank you.
Council?
I want to say that there are reasons why the budget calls for us to raise the rates. BWA, they're charging us more. The other company,
Veolia.
Viola, their rates went up. So thank you, Ashley, for doing all the work you did to give us 4 options in raising. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, we chose the lower one out of all 4. We chose the lower one
Yes.
for the citizens. So us 4 up here, we have the citizens in mind. Now, I know some of you don't believe that, but we have the citizens in mind. I pay water bill. George, Jarvis, and Mr. Pena, we all 4 pay water bills. Water bill had to go up.
So do I.
Oh, that's right, Jerry pays too. Huh?
Make sure you get that on
Yeah,
record.
let's get that rumor right. All of us up here pay water bill. And in order for us to stay above water, excuse the pun, but we have to raise it. We have to raise it.
If I may also just to reiterate to the public, I've said it before, but my phone line's always open, my door's always open, and I'm more than willing to talk to anyone. I know Ms. Oldham and I have talked several times, and I've talked with Ms. Nancy several times. So if any citizen feels I'm being unfair or doesn't understand maybe all of what's being talked about, I have no problem sitting down and educating.
Mr. Rollerson?
There is a solution to the problem. Put the burden on the industries. That's the solution to the problem. Because Texas Supreme Court voted that the industries get 89% of the water during the drought. So if they can have the water before the residents can have the water, they should pay for it. That is the other alternative instead of coming to the taxpayers. I'm up on my game too, and I do pay my water bill, but it's not funny because these senior citizens depend on every dollar that they get. We need to put the burden on the industry that get the most amount of this water. You scared to tax them. You voted that it's unfair to do the mom and pop's business different from the industry, but the industries is guaranteed by Texas legislation and Texas courts that they get the water, sir. They can pay for the water. The industry got enough from us. It's time for them to pay their fair share. We've been debating for 57 years. We've been taking advantage for 57 years, and we get the same speech and dog whistle. We gotta do it. You don't have to do it. Force them to pay their fair share.
Anyone else from the public? Ashley?
Mayor, is that true? The industry pays or is mandated to get 89% of the water during an emergency? Is that true?
I've never heard that.
I don't know which law he is referring to.
Mr. Rollerson, do you mind coming up and referencing what law you're referring to?
Can't reference the law, but the United States Supreme Court voted on it also that Dow Chemical must have all the water during the drought. That's why Corpus Christi is going through the same issues they going with the industry, because they are guaranteed by the state of Texas and the United States Supreme Court to have much water as they want. That's why BW Water's saying what they're saying, because they are guaranteed to this water.
Mr. Rollerson, can I ask you a quick question? You weren't here at the last meeting. I'm gonna have to require your attendance from here on out.
Yes, sir.
And I'm, all joking aside, I really would like for you to, if you could email that to all of council.
will email
Any
it
of
to
that
you.
information, please. Thank you,
I
sir.
will email you that law because everybody up here should know that.
No, I definitely did not. I don't know if anybody else did. Thank you. I got nothing else, Mayor.
Ms. Hurst, do you have anything else for us?
No, sir.
Council, anything else from Ms. Hurst?
Yeah, I figured.
So 2 things.
Yes, sir.
Number 1, Ms. Hurst, when we received, well, let's go back to the special meeting where we had over representatives from that horrible water provider for the service of our water and sewer, Veolia. if, with us going back with them, we were starting in a deficit of $964,000, is that correct?
I think that was preliminary numbers that was being looked at.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the majority of council voted for that. I was against it. Mayor was against it because we were starting in a huge deficit. We had options to bring it in-house, reduce those costs to where we wouldn't have to probably raise our rates as much. We could have probably raised those rates to our others, because that's the way it's coded within our billing system. And maybe not raise the rates on our residents. So that is a huge reason why we had to raise rates. There's still time. We haven't signed a contract with them. There's still time to bring it in-house. Cut those costs probably in half, not greater. So if you're having issues with that, speak to your council person. Let them know that option is still available. Because when we were talking about raising rates, I asked my wife, because ours is on auto pay, I asked her, I said, how much gallons per month do we use? I'm 1,000 gallons away from a super user. I was like, holy cow. I'm going to be hit with that 15%. Blew me away. So yeah, I'm right there. I don't want to pay more if I don't have to. So that's just something to think about. Ms. Hurst, on the supplemental budget requests, going over the police and code, there's a one-time amount of $475 for 5 vehicle replacements, but it states 3 patrol, 1 admin, 1 CID, 1 animal control. Is it 5 vehicles or is it 6?
I believe that's 5.
Okay,
And I think what was tentatively approved was 3
okay.
in the yellow.
So the 3
No,
is,
I'm sorry. Chief is coming up to save me.
So actually, originally, when the budget request form was submitted, it was listed as 6. When it ended up on the spreadsheet, somehow it ended up as 5. And then there was already the discussion to knock it down to 3, and so we just didn't make any corrections to the original 5.
Okay. Thanks.
so is it 5, Chief, or is it 3?
It was 6 was the original request.
Okay,
And so, but then after, there's been changes in negotiation, and then Mr. Pennington's recommendation was for 3. And so I didn't go back and make any changes where it said 5 to 6. But the actual budget request form did originally have 6 on it for that total amount.
okay. So the 350,000 in proposed items, is that for 3 or 5?
I think you just estimated on that number for
Yes.
3, because we didn't have the formal quote, because we didn't have the confirmation on what 3 vehicles it would be, if it would be 3 patrol, or 2 patrol and animal control, or one patrol, 1 animal control, 1 CID, so kind of depending on what it was going to be would depend on what that cost was.
Okay, because I've driven by a couple of times and I've noticed a 3/4 ton pickup truck sitting in the back. What is that being used for?
The white one that sits out here usually,
Yes,
so that originally was Captain Gilchrist's truck. That vehicle, and there's actually even been some discussion on trying to get that vehicle over to Public Works, because that vehicle was obtained in,
I bought it.
oh, did you buy it?
Yes, when I was here.
I was trying to think, I was like, when did they tell me that vehicle? And it was used like for pulling some trailers. Captain Gilchrist lived very close, so the mileage on it was very low. but it's not usually utilized, in my opinion, the way it should be.
It's more like a work truck. It's got rubberized floorboards, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not even used for any long distance traveling. We had somebody try to take it away for a training class one time, and it doesn't even do well going to Houston just because it's kind of a rough ride, if you will.
Okay, and the reason I was asking was if we could cut the number down, use that as the animal control, because I haven't seen it used. I'm just trying to figure out a way, because we do have some large costs coming up with ambulance and fire, and so I was thinking of if we can start putting some money away to help cover those costs.
Right.
And so I was trying to figure out what, because 125,000 between the one-time amount and then that proposed, that's a large amount. And so I was thinking, well, there's some money there. If we can get some more savings, try to figure up maybe about $250,000 to either start towards a new ambulance or a fire truck.
Right,
And
yes,
so
sir.
when I was looking at the vehicle replacements and that, I was doing the math.
Oh, yeah. No,
And so that's what I'm trying to,
and yeah, I was about to say,
figure out.
if we got guidance over, hey, we'd like to see this or that, then we could, kind of firm in even on those numbers as well, for what it would be like for 3 specific vehicles.
could you utilize just 3 vehicles? And you get to decide how they're allocated, if it's 2 patrol, an admin, or what? Could that be a compromise?
Yes, sir.
So we can just try and start to close that gap for our fire?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And we do have a couple of ideas for the ambulance side and for the fire truck that we're gonna propose to council.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Gina?
Hello, council. I had a meeting today with TECQ. We usually partner together with them, and I don't know if you're familiar with the TERP grants. Anybody familiar with that? So what they do is it's a missions deal. So they basically give grants for, say that you're wanting to replace any type of vehicles. And I think in October, there's going to be one coming up for light duty. So if you have any trucks that are not heavy duty trucks, maybe that might be something for you guys to look into. But as soon as those grants do come available, I'll definitely let you guys know or send y'all. It's a first come, first served basis. So they usually have a lot of grants for those. And sometimes they might be heavy duty, and sometimes they have like machinery. So I'm going to be partnering with them in 2026 for the other grants as well. I mean, that would save the city money.
And that's through TCEQ?
Yes. And it's
Ashley,
called
did you hear
TERP, T-E-R-P. And I can send you the link that has all of the great, I mean, it's not available yet, but they said probably in October. So,
Yeah, can you send that to all of council?
sure.
Thank you.
I'm all about grants. Anyone else from the public?
Our council.
Mr. Davis?
All right. Thank you for that information. See, that's why we need to partner outside of Freeport and build neighbors to find out information like this. And, you know, we need us a grant writer and to find some of these grants. But to go on to this viola, okay, well, I voted, so you don't have to sugarcoat it. Councilman Davis voted not to go with the city's plan to take over the water department because there was no plan presented to council to take over the water department until the last 2 or 3 months. And there was no confidence in that plan. So if other councilmen and Mr. Mayor, if they knew about a plan, they should have shared it with the council. And then we could have all been on the same board. But you don't jump into no multi-million-dollar contract or something as important as our water system. What
And if you looked at that plan, and if you asked Ashley or someone else that know about numbers and talking about it, it was holes all over that plan. And so there was no confidence level in that for me to vote to put the citizens in danger of us not succeeding. We had to jump off, like right now, September, and started messing with your water, our water. We had to buy equipment, we had to buy tools, we had to buy big trucks, all kinds of things. That costs money. We talking about a budget now. Well, what would that have done to the budget? I'm sure Ashley would have made it work. But you don't bring a plan to council 3 months before when you had all year or so to get ready to take over the water plan. Like right now, we should be making a plan to take back our trash dump. We got plenty of time to do that. You should be ready next time that contract come up, and I'll be willing to, I'm ready to do that. But you start the plan right now today. Just like this water contract. So now you should be working on your plan to take it over next time the contract come up. But that's why I didn't vote for that plan. Because it wasn't prepared, and it wasn't well thought out, to me, in my opinion. And I would not put my vote on the line and put the citizens in that predicament, and we in a unknown. We don't know how this is gonna go. I mean, have you ever heard of a Flint, I think it was Flint, Texas? You seen what happened to their water? Do you see how them people had to live down there in their water? Flint, Michigan? Do you want that to happen here? So, when we talking about, well, talk to your councilman, well, I just told you. And I am available if you would like to discuss that. But Freeport, if we wanna do something, and that's what we on track right now. If we're communicating, we're being transparent, we're going over the budget with the people, with each other. We all know what's going on right now. It's a time that we didn't know this type of stuff. We didn't know stuff was going on. And something like the water plant, and for us not to know the plan, it's unheard of. And that's why I didn't vote for that.
Thank you, Councilman. Anyone else from the public? One more round from the council. Councilman Pena.
I'll just say a couple of things here is that, you know, we're still walking into this budget cycle. I mean, I know, Mr. Pennington, you have been working very hard, as well as Ashley and Mr. Duncan and all the department heads to get all the numbers ready for us to evaluate. And we've had a couple of meetings where we've had some chances to talk with the residents and whatever, get their feedback, not whatever, but to get their feedback. And the directors as well with their wish lists. But the truth of the matter is we still haven't scrubbed this budget. And quite frankly, the methodology on how these budgets are adopted is really broken. It's still broken. And it occurred to me on Sunday morning I woke up with how to fix it, how to get this thing right. So that in fact, everybody actually is inputting, like, so for example, let's take the Parks Department. What are the top 5 things for the Parks Department? Can anybody name those right off the top of your head? No, you can't. Nobody can. Maybe you might be able to.
I can.
Can you?
Yes.
Well, that's your job, right?
Yes.
You get paid the big bucks to do that. We get paid the volunteer hours to do that, $175 a month. No, but in all seriousness, my point is that we're not even discussing every line item as we should. Because the truth of the matter is, if we're really gonna be doing a decent job of this, I mean, how many departments are there? 8 departments?
There's, I don't even.
Let's just say let's say there's 10 departments, and then there's 5 line items. That's 50 items we gotta go through. So that we all know, hey, do we really like that? Did everybody really want 3 police officer vehicles? Or did the majority want 2? Or did the majority want 1 or none? Or was another option saying, we'll give all 3 as long as the cuts are somewhere else? Can you imagine if we had a little, I don't know if anybody's ever gone to go eat sushi, and you figure out which sushi item you want, and you just check the box on how many of those you want? Same idea. The line item, the options, yes or no, for most of them. Do we go with 3? Do we go with 2? Maybe it gets more detail that way. But for the other ones, though, it's yes or no. Do we add it to the budget? Do we add $1.7 million to this budget for a fire engine? Or do we say, no, we have a bigger, better solution, and we're gonna attend to that after this budget cycle? We'll attend to it November 2025. Not kick it down the road, let's get this thing solved. For the first time in the last meeting, we actually had some meaningful discussion about what that would look like when we start talking about the hybrid solution so that we can save the city money, so that we're not the only city in the county that has a full-time staff of firemen and EMTs. There's so many ways to skin that cat, and a lot of it is not politically popular for those that are in that profession, I get it, and the department, and for that matter, the staff. But it's popular in the residents, and I have not heard any resident come to me that's been living here longer than I have that says, hey, it's a good idea to be the only city in the county that has a full-time staff and an inflated budget. We gotta do things better. We have 2 fire department stations, and we can really just centralize this and having it in just as being one. There's cost savings there. There's so many questions. You know, we have 2 fire stations here, one on the over here behind the churches, and then the other one over there off of Pine Street. What are we doing with those vehicles? Do we have redundancy needlessly? Those are the kind of conversations we need to be having. And I'm having those with residents. I'm having those with residents, and we need to be having those up here, guys. And so that's why I'm really just agitated at the fact that, you know, we're gonna come to the 15th, to no fault of anybody's, it's the charter and that's where we gotta go, but, you know, between now and the 15th, I think it's a smart move for the council to have at least that worksheet that looks like that. I think you can kind of get the sense. I'm really glad we have Dan and Ashley because they're very sharp. I've seen their problem-solving skills on paper, but I see it just talking to them, and I'm sure everybody else has. So I'm confident that we can fix this. And it's not gonna take us a whole nother month. It's not gonna take us a whole nother 2 weeks. I think there's sufficient time to get it right before the 15th. And it's just a quick, you know, modification of the spreadsheet so that it has a couple of other columns, and it's a yes or a no. And it's a worksheet that we can all look at. And now, because like right now, do you know everything that I want on that budget, Ashley? No.
I don't
Do you know, Mr. Pennington, do you know everything that Mr. No. These guys are going off of instinct, maybe?
Historical data.
Historical data, maybe? Which we're trying to look forward, we're trying to move forward. Yeah, we got to reference the history, but we really got to look forward on this stuff, and we got to make sure that what we're trying to do is what's best for the city going forward, and that we're maximizing the reinvestment of those dollars and making the cuts, the tough cuts, the easy cuts. There's some really easy cuts in here. But city staff still, and I knew this before coming in tonight, that city staff was still not clear on really what council wanted as a whole. Well, do we go with this one here because, you know, Pena and Matamoros are really together on this one issue? Or do we go with this other issue because Kane and Davis are together on this issue? We got to eliminate the guessing game. Let's be smart about it. Let's have a little worksheet where we can all just say, so then when you see, yeah, let's look at the, whatever it is, item in the Parks Department, number 1, it's a yes or a no. Okay, we got 3 yeses on that. Boom, now you guys know. Okay, we're going to include that one. I don't know why we don't do that. We need to do that.
Yeah, I can
Because it would be that much more helpful for them to not be spitballing or shooting in the dark, and for that matter, costing the residents millions. And when we talk about, hey, you know, how are we going to make more money, looking at the golf course or a beach plan and putting those numbers in together and start looking at those metrics, yeah, we need those so that, yeah, you know what, we look at the golf course and we're saying, you know what, the price increase or the way they do the programming for the weekend golfers or the members is not right. And, you know, some of the stuff is Brian here tonight? No. Brian can put together and say, yeah, this is the proposal and this is the number. You guys want to go ahead and increase it, yes or no? He says, yeah, I think this is the magic number. We say, yeah, we like it, or we say, no, we can push it. But we need to have that kind of detailed instruction, because otherwise, this is no better than the administrations in the past where the council was basically voting blind and City Hall was lining up the damn budget with fat and losses and lies and auditor lies. And it was so frustrating that the only thing I was left to do was say, hey, you know what? I will resign if you guys cut it by 25% right here. And it's so frustrating because here we are yet again, feeling like we're flying blind yet still. And even by the admission of our own CEO and CFO, that they're blind right now. They're flying blind, literally at this very minute. So I'm hoping that we can agree to instruct the staff to put together that worksheet here. We get it knocked out by the end of this week. Then you guys are getting ready for the following meeting so that it's in the packet, and then we can actually say, you know what? They've compiled the worksheet numbers, and here we go. Now, on the 15th, we actually have a budget that says, no, we got everybody's worksheet. Keep the worksheets for public record. And this way, everybody knows how their councilman voted, but then also, we actually did it by consensus. Beautiful, easy, simple plan. That's all I have, Mayor.
Would everyone be okay with a digital?
That'd be great.
Able to fill it out digitally,
If you can do that.
if you want to do that.
Is that allowed, legal?
I would just, I'd have to defer to Chris, but we're not supposed to have a meeting of the minds of a meeting that's not posted. So it'd be one thing if you're just providing your feedback, but we wouldn't want to have a walk-in quorum electronically. Chris?
Correct. So, hello. Yeah, okay, so let's say, I'm trying to figure out, there's a la carte menu that's sent out, right? Of all of the requests by each department that were presented, right? And you said, okay, you know, for each, 5 for each department, and pick the number 1 or the 2 that you like for each department, or you have a total that you can pick, something like that. And the councilman provides those answers and sends them to the administration. Y'all could not discuss that with each other at all.
Correct.
So, if, you know, y'all couldn't compare notes. You couldn't call, you know, another councilman and say, hey, I'm looking at, you know, there could be no horse trading, because that's deliberating, right? And you cannot deliberate as a council unless you're in front of the public in a meeting, right? I don't see that it's a violation. You know, it's only a violation that, you know, the rule is that y'all cannot deliberate, and deliberate is compare notes with each other. So I don't see that it's a legal violation to, you know, have a one-way input, but as long as y'all don't talk to each other or compare notes.
Well, that's no different than speaking about an agenda item as it is already. So I think all of us can comply with that rule. We do it every week.
Yeah, y'all shouldn't be talking about
Correct.
the city business only when you're here in council.
So for all intents and purposes, we can do this, either via a handout, or if you can, I don't want to tax you with any kind of software development, but if it's an easy as a push, for you guys to create that, that's even better.
But, I would suggest that if we go on this, we take a ride on this trip, that Ashley and Mr. Pennington have some very clear idea from council of how this is going to work. I mean, like I just said, okay, if there's so many per, I mean, what's the parameters? How is it going to work as far as how many selections you get, or how many options you get to choose, or I mean,
Well, the
I'm worried
alternative.
it could be more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, I mean, the alternative, Ashley, you handed out some documents earlier, asking for priorities, right?
Yes.
Okay, so to me, an easy fix to it is not to have the deliberation during. We'll come back, you'll have a spreadsheet, have another column, and if you want to go line by line of the items, whether they're the ones you highlight it in yellow, there might be a few other ones we put on there, but if you want to go through them, and there's, I don't know, do you have that spreadsheet with you?
Yeah.
About how many of them? Count those while I'm talking, please.
That are highlighted?
Just total,
Oh,
all
okay.
of them. So there might be, 50 items, I'm gonna guess. And if we want to go line by line at that time, that would be, we would avoid all the, mistakes and landmines you can step on when you're emailing people back and forth. And, I need to get clarity from this one, and then we're in a bad situation. We don't want to be in that. We don't want you to be in that.
I mean, you could send out the list, and they come to the next council meeting with their
Answers.
Mhm.
Right.
Yes,
And then
correct.
y'all go through and say, all right, I mean, you could even have them turn in the sheets there, and you tally the votes and say, okay, these 10 items or whatever got the most votes. So that's what we're gonna do, without even having debate. I mean, of course, debate, nothing's wrong with debate, but,
Well, in that case, the spreadsheet's already done, it's already highlighted, so I can just add a column and email that to you on the.
Correct.
Kind of, the
Yes.
same
It's
one
already
that you
been
mailed out
public.
earlier.
Yeah.
My recommendation is that we do in fact send it out with those highlighted ones, and that's a yes or a no. And that at the bottom, it actually shows what, especially if you could do it electronically, this is what I like. Hold off, this is not a legal question, so I don't need any legal input on this one here. But I'll just say that it would be nice if it's quasi-interactive, so that, hey, when you clicked on this one here, you see the running total, whether you're in the red or in the black.
So you want Excel version?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that then, but I also like the idea that we do in fact submit it. And then quite frankly, it's gonna be so varied that everybody's gonna have a different bottom line. If two council persons have the same number at the end, they probably collaborated. And then we'll call the Attorney General on those guys. No, but seriously speaking, right? The number of variables, there's no way anybody would have the same numbers. But if it's compiled, everybody's like, you know what? I didn't end up in the red. I like my plan. 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 Boom, I hit send. You have it compiled, and you're saying, hey, this is where the numbers ended up. We could still go through them line by line, a minute each one, 1 hour, and then we're like, okay, the tally was that. Anybody want to change their vote? And then they can right there and then. I like the idea of submitting it before, because I know the way this hot seat works. The way this hot seat works is nobody wants to show their cards or say anything politically incorrect when they know in their hearts what the budget should be doing. And it's better to do that in the comfort of your own homes, and let's just get to work here, simple math, and then it's an up-down vote. That's my suggestion, Mayor.
I'd like to refer to legal again.
I believe that, resolve, I mean, it could work with turning them in, without turning them in advance. But ultimately, we're democracy, and we have all the council here. And if y'all want to go through with the checklist where y'all can have some very specific input of what items, what priorities you have, and try to format it in an easy way, such as a checklist like this. Somebody can make a motion. Somebody, if it gets seconded, and y'all can vote on it right here and now and decide if y'all want to do it at the meeting, at the next meeting, before the next meeting, however y'all think works best for you. But if we turn it in before, you can't compare any notes.
No discussions.
Not before the meeting.
No discussions.
Only at the meeting.
Correct.
Correct. That's like every agenda item. We're not having to learn a new trick here.
The only question I have, Chris, is there something on the agenda that this ties to if they make a motion in a second? Because there's only a public hearing on here, on the budget.
We can't make a motion in a public hearing.
Yeah. And then I'm thinking, even if we closed it, what is it gonna tie to? We don't necessarily need a motion. I think Ashley and I and Chief can figure out
Yeah.
pretty close to what y'all want. So I think it'd be better, because I can't see anything on the agenda that we can tie to, and I don't want to get in trouble.
Well, as long as we're not in trouble and getting you guys in trouble, I like the idea of the spreadsheet that's interactive on an Excel, get it to us, and we get it back by Friday. This way, there's enough time for them to compile it to get the agenda out next week.
Okay.
Without a motion, but Mary, you can quarterback that.
Councilman Davis, before we close this public session, is there anything else you would like to mention about the budget or about the process that Councilman Pena is pitching?
Yeah, I like the process. I like what he's saying, because we are, like I said, I mean, this is almost hadn't been done in a while, so I won't say never been done, but hadn't been done in a while. And Ashley, you're doing an awesome job, and then Dan, y'all are doing an awesome job. Well, we want to make sure that we stand in line, so we're not doing anything wrong. If he has time to look over it and see it, that's the next step, because we are steady learning here, and even though we're having these meetings, but then after you just hearing that, you're like, well, bam, like there it is. That just puts the icing on the cake. Like now everybody is truly, had a voice, had an opinion, and now we know, when this budget goes this time, you'll say, hey, at council in 2025, they set that budget together. I mean, and you have the opportunity to agree to disagree. I mean, the majority is gonna prevail, and so. But I think if we all, that's gonna show our first step of unity right there. That's a step forward now. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Councilman Rosso.
I'm good.
Okay, do you have any input on the process that Councilman Pena has set forth?
No, I'll go with what he's saying. It sounds like a good plan.
So if we do
Sounds like a
this,
good plan. If we do it that way, everyone, especially us, we would know what we want to do, and then we can present it to the public. Present it to the public is the main objective with what we do here.
That's correct.
We want to keep them, as we're informed, we want to inform them. And this sounds like a good way to do it. As long as it's like Councilman Davis said, as long as we're doing it the right way and we're not doing something that we're not really supposed to be doing, then it's good.
and the right way means don't give me a call and say, Mayor, I wanna do this.
Right.
And just do it on your own. Send it to Ashley.
Yeah, Ashley gonna take care of us.
I'll try anyways.
Councilman Matamoros.
Mayor, I've already given my single item that I wanted to change. So there's no need to send me a spreadsheet. Yeah, I've verbalized it, so that's it.
Cool. Before we close it, any more public comments? Not seeing any hands. Ashley, once again, I want to thank you for all the hard work that you have done in this budget cycle. And I appreciate you taking these challenges that you're given at the last moment with a smile on your face and a attitude of, yes, I can get it done. Cool. So ladies and gentlemen, with that, it is now 7:13, and we are going to close this public hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you. And reconvene into our regularly scheduled council meeting. Brings us to agenda item 5A, consideration and possible action approving the proposed 2025 annual street lighting plan. Ms. Kramer.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Come for you tonight, asking you to approve the proposed 2025 light locations. There was a map provided to y'all in between the two meetings for any changes. I didn't receive any, or the ones that I did, we made the changes. So I'm just here to see if we can get this approved.
Council, before we get into any discussion on this, I'll ask for a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the street lighting, 2025 annual street lighting plan as presented.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Rosso. We've had pretty extensive discussion over this. Is there any more needed?
Yeah, I have a correction on it, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Kramer, thanks for putting this map together here. I know we spoke about that one issue on Broad Street between Pine and East Park, and those three lights. Centerpoint said, or you had mentioned that there was two that were approved at one of the previous years. but-
3, I think, were in 2022.
Yeah, those three, so they were never installed.
They were never installed.
And then also the light for this year on Cherry Street, right there between First and Second, that red dot. We had discussed moving it over to Second Street in front of City Hall.
Oh, we sure did.
And I was curious on the other 5 that were to the right on that Second Street, red light between Cherry and Pine, those 5. What's the status on those 5?
Were you referring to the ones that we were discussing with the Centerpoint?
Yeah, I think we said that there was, I think I mentioned 3 of the 5 were working, but 2 were not, and I wasn't sure if Centerpoint was gonna address those the same way they were gonna address the Broad Street 3 lights.
The ones that I have reported to them that we had discussed that were not installed, I've sent them the email and said, hey, this should have been installed. We need it done ASAP.
And then of those 5 that are to the right of the red dot on Second Street,
I had looked, and the one that was closest to 1495 to Pine Street, I think that one was an error. I think I'd sent an email and said that one was an error. So there's still, there was still like 3 of the 4 that didn't get installed.
Yeah.
So there was 3 on Second and 2 on, I think it was Broad.
Well, there was 3 on Broad between East Park and Pine, right? Those 3?
Let's go back. We got a lot of versions floating around.
I hear you.
We had 3 on Broad. We had 3 on Broad Street
From yesteryear, right?
from
Yesteryear.
2 weeks ago.
No, the 3 on
Last year.
Broad were the ones
Oh,
that were non-existent, but that were being claimed by CenterPoint.
correct. And then 3 of the 4 on Second Street were not included, I believe. There
So
were-
I'm just wondering, of those 5 green dots between Pine and Cherry, which of those are active or gonna rather be installed?
So I have this one right here that I'll let you take a look at.
Does that match what's on the monitor?
Oh, I can't tell from that.
You go back to that zoom in, Mr. Cohen. Yeah.
So there was one, I think, that was right over here, that I think was in error.
Okay.
I don't think that one was ever included. I think whenever these got added, that one just got added as a
Accidentally?
mistake.
So of those 4, those are gonna be, I guess, rectified?
Yes.
Okay, and then over here on Broad, those 3 aren't showing here on this map. They're showing on this,
Yeah.
but they're not showing on there. And then, you have that one moved over there. I'd go ahead and move this one over here too, just so that we have Second Street lit. That's the main corridor.
Okay, just so we're on the record, we're taking the one that was on Broad Street between Oak and Cherry and moving that to Second Street, correct?
Correct.
Now, keep in mind that from City Hall west toward Oak, that's all concrete.
Mm-hmm.
There's no grass. It's parking lots, it's the drives, so it may have to be actually kind of
Offset a little.
really tight.
Yeah,
I mean, there might be 2 lights in front of City Hall
you're right.
in reality.
Well, there's actually, I believe, 3 lights in front of City Hall on those classical ones that are not
Working.
powered up at all. So if we have 2 from CenterPoint that are working, that'd be
Okay,
such a great improvement.
okay. So we're removing the one on Broad
On Broad
and
and
moving
on
it
Cherry.
to Second.
Yeah,
Oh, gotcha.
so we'll end up with 3 on Second and 1 on
Broad.
Fourth. Or 1 on Broad,
Broad.
excuse me.
Yeah. We can do that.
Thank you. No further comments, Mayor.
Council, anyone else?
Yeah. Is that an older map, like you just brought over here? Like
So you
another
wanna see the
version?
map?
Yeah, yes, ma'am. That had the first lights on or the second lights? 'Cause what, hey, blow it up, Toby, the, B. What's that? Oh, this the one that's on the screen right now? It looked like it, yeah, it looked like it. It's supposed to be one right here. 'Cause we let him take all the lights from over here. This road here, how do we determine?
You speak in the mic, please.
This road here, how do we determine who light? It was 3 lights over there. So do we have, it's on,
Be on the south side of the street.
yeah, see that first map? I don't think that was on the south side, but that's why I was looking for that first map. 'Cause see, so this side of the street is lines and that side of the street. See, so you don't have that first map with you?
I feel like it was dead center. I mean, I think I just clicked on the street, kind of like these are. Because it would be dependent on center point sometimes.
That's what I was
There's a
asking.
driveway
So I was asking, like, it was 3 lights over here, so how we determine all of them lights went that way, and I only had 4 lights, 5 lights.
Oh, we have this one down here as well. Let's go on your side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, 'cause one of them came from right there. One of them came from right there. It was 3 lights over there.
They were on actually Mr. Mattermore's side, so I moved them as he instructed me to.
So all 3, it was 3 lights, so you can tell. That's what I'm saying. How did we tell who was, if they was in the middle or they was in a, so I got one from over there. Off of that first sheet. But I was just asking about this one because I had asked for one right there, but I guess you gave them all of them, so. But I wanna know next time, like, how do we determine? I see if you put the dot over here on this side, I understand what you're saying, but I have to see that first map. I don't think the dots were punching like that.
Just, to be clear, so next year, when we do it again, I'll make sure that they're very on one side or the other, so everybody's clear on the counts.
Yes, that would help.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Council, any other questions?
I have one other question, Mayor. If-
Yes, sir.
If the other councilmen don't have any comments on their lights first.
You spoke up first, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if this year, it's probably too late, but not too late for next year. Just having a rule of thumb where the lights, okay, there's enough lights that, there's so many lights that are needed. We talked about this many times. And that, that those are divided equal. I think there's 40 free lights per center point for every year. If we can just make
50,
sure
I
that.
think. 50?
50?
Is it 50?
All right.
50.
So,
They say 60%.
Yeah.
So keep in mind, at some point, they're gonna go, whoa, 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 whoa. You're not getting 50 anymore, you're past your 6%.
sure.
So we're just gonna.
Let's
roll
say
with
we're
it for-
at, but let's say it's 50.
Mhm.
But for round numbers, 48 even. So everybody gets 12. And then there's less of the, back and forth, contentious. It's just right down the middle for everybody. Because I know there's 12 lights that could go in Ward B easily. Ward A, C, and D. And so.
If you had noticed on your agenda item, the memo,
Yeah.
I had added a new table that shows the number of lights per mile, per ward.
Mhm.
And so that was one of my ideas, is to try to make it be more evenly based on how much roadway you have.
Sure. I mean, there's many ways to skin the cat, but I think the simple way is when people just start looking, hey, how many lights are we getting? It's probably a simpler, less contentious approach to do it that way. And I don't know if we need to formalize a motion on that, or we just tell City Hall staff, hey, let's go ahead and try to go forward with even allotment.
I will encourage my replacement to do 25%.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, 'cause look at the top one.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Ward B.
Ward A in 2021.
That 41 is a fallacy. I want to see those lights. I don't remember 41 lights, allotting 41 lights ever. So I'd love to
I ain't
see
got-
that.
We ain't get 41 total.
I think most of
Thank
yours
you,
was
Councilman.
in the downtown area that year.
No. I can assure you, I've never appointed or I've never mapped out more than 8 lights, maybe 10 at the most. So what's funny is that 2021, my first year, there was no 41. In 2022, there was no 19. No way. So I'm not sure where those numbers are coming from, because they're not showing up. I mean, I'd love to see the maps that actually put those in. Do we have? I'm sure we do, right? We probably have the historical record of those maps.
Probably, I'm
I'd
sure
love
we
to
could
see
probably go
those.
back and find something.
We could do that another day over lunch or something, but I don't attest those numbers at all.
So,
But I'd love to do the 25% across the board.
Yeah.
That means we'll have to keep Mr. Pennington a little bit longer so we can get that in place.
Denied.
Oh, man.
I got 3 months.
No, so you see that. So that's 2 years in a row. Ward B, we have 14%, got 28 lights.
Yeah, that needs to be 25%.
It's on. It shouldn't be the lowest light again next year. That's 2 years in a row.
Right. It's just 25% across the board. I think it solves it.
Council, any other questions over here?
Do we need to formalize a resolution to do that, or instructions alone? Okay,
Nah, just instruction.
good deal, thank you.
Councilman Rosso or Councilman Matamoros? You got any questions, comments, or?
I got a message from, city manager that all my lights were done. They are. I hadn't checked, but they're all working.
That's what Centerpoint had said.
Okay. No further.
He'd
Councilman
reported some light
Matamoros?
outages.
Huh?
He'd reported light outages.
Oh, yeah, no. Oh, okay. I did too.
Can I have the guy that Councilman Rosso has?
You gotta remember, I got God on my side.
He's everywhere. He's everywhere.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Do we need to amend the motion to include the changes that Councilman Pena wanted on his? Okay.
Yes.
So Councilman Rosso, Councilman Matamoros, would you consider withdrawing your motion pending the changes that Councilman Pena had made?
Can we just amend the motion to same per the changes, and then, sir, we can just vote and get this over with?
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, yeah, make a motion to approve the 2025 street lighting plan with the changes presented by, was it just Councilman Pena?
I think Councilman Davis may have had one or two. All right, just Councilman Pena.
So pending those changes.
All right, so Councilman Matamoros has made a motion to approve the lighting plan pending the changes that Councilman Pena has suggested. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Pena. So with that, gentlemen, I'll call the vote. All those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed state nay.
By the power of God, yes.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Kramer.
Take that on the facts when I say something.
Oh, thanks.
He can ask us afterwards. He can ask us afterwards. Agenda item 5B, consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2025-2947, authorizing a revision to the City of Freeport Policy Handbook, Chapter 9, Employee Wages and Benefits, Section 9.03, a wellness requirement. Ms. Fisher.
Yes, at the last council meeting, y'all had requested that the amount that would be charged to employees who did not get their annual wellness exam be changed for the 2026-2027 fiscal year from $25 per paycheck to $50 per paycheck. And this is to take care of council's request.
Council, I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the revision to our Resolution 2025-2947.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Matamoros. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Rosso. Any discussion, questions, or comments on this, gentlemen?
Just quick update, it's to take effect 2025, correct?
No, the 2025-26 year was the $25 per paycheck. If they don't get their wellness requirement this year, then beginning the 2026-27 year, we'll go to 50. Because we haven't charged anything up to this point.
Okay,
So October 1st of 2025, anyone that hasn't done it will be charged $25 a paycheck. That's what y'all approved a year ago. Anyone that doesn't get it done in the upcoming fiscal year, the next fiscal year will be charged $50 per paycheck.
okay.
There's no way to impact it for this coming year?
I'm sorry?
There's no way to impact it for October 1, 2025?
Not to go from the 25 to 50 because y'all had previously voted on the $25.
Oh, I thought this vote was allowing us to override it.
No,
No.
this is changing it for the next fiscal year. Because these employees, the 21 employees, the 17% that didn't do it, are expecting a $25 hit. They know they're gonna get that hit because they didn't get it done. And so to change it at this date is not what they thought they were gonna get.
Well, I want to say for the record, we have a similar program like this at my job, and I think it's either $20 or $25 a month if you don't have the wellness day, and I think $50 is a lot. Yeah, so I'm okay with 25. I don't think I'm okay with 50. Council, any other questions or comments?
Well, you wouldn't want to work where I work. It's 300.
You're probably right. Although if I
You
worked
don't
where
work
you
that
worked,
anyway. You
I
don't
could
make
do
no money.
40-hour weeks, I bet.
With 14
With
holidays.
Fridays off and 14 holidays.
Well, the pay don't add up,
So-
but it's $300. Ain't it, Winston?
Cool. Any other questions or comments, gentlemen?
And we actually have employees that do that. They don't want nobody to know their business.
Yeah. That's not the whole year, but it's from October to, I forgot how many months it is, but I think it's a couple of months, but yeah, but it's $300.
Still a lot of money.
It is. Oh, that's
Yep.
a lot of money, but they're trying to make you be healthy. And if you see what happened with the insurance that's going up and how the insurance is going up, and when we don't abide by what they're asking for, then the cost, that affects our cost. And all they're trying to do is it's a preventative to catch something early. So it's helping you. I mean, it helped me go to the doctor.
So to be clear, though, the premiums for the insurance policies that cover the councilman is not going up, right?
Our insurance does not cover councilmen.
It will still be the same.
Yeah.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Maybe in the future we can have that for the councilman.
I will call the vote. All those in favor for the $50 per pay period increase, state aye.
Aye.
All opposed, state nay. Nay. Motion carries 4-1. The mayor voting nay. Agenda item 5C, consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2025-2948 to appoint Chief Jennifer Howell as Public Information Officer. Ms. Fisher.
Yes, in the last legislative session, House Bill 33 was passed, which requires government bodies, including municipalities, to appoint a public information officer to handle receiving, processing, coordinating responses to the public on active shooter incidents or other emergencies in primary and secondary schools. And Chief Howell is the most qualified of our employees for this position.
Council, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mayor.
Motion to approve by Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any questions or comments on this, gentleman?
I'm curious about what those announcements, the methodologies that would be employed. Curious what Mrs. Howell's training and ideas are in terms of what she's looking to implement for the city of Freeport as it relates to both what's required by the House bill as well as her own ideas that are specific to Freeport.
Well, as far as training, the House bill sets out specific TDM and TCOL requirements that this public information officer has to be trained in.
Okay, so there'll be some training
Yes.
for Chief Howell? Okay.
And she's already had a significant amount of that training already.
And in the case of, if Chief Howell is out sick and something should happen, is there a secondary person that we have in place for that? Would that be the lieutenant or the captain, rather?
I was gonna say, I suspect that Chief Howell would appoint the lieutenant in her place.
Is there
She
any
could not.
budgetary considerations that we needed to employ here?
No, because this is covered in the regular duties of those positions.
So the training for that is already paid for? Or is it at no cost?
Actually, some of the guidelines on the training won't be out until December, even though this bill went into effect yesterday.
Got it.
So thanks to the legislature, I can't answer that.
So up until December, I guess we'll still have the responsibility of notifying
yes.
residents in case of emergencies. What instruments are we using at this point, or what methods are we using?
This particular resolution only applies to emergencies in primary and secondary schools, such as active shooter situations.
Okay.
It does not cover every emergency.
Okay,
This came out of the Uvalde
Yeah.
Yes.
incident.
okay.
Because there was
So
a
this
lack of
is specific
information.
to active shooters on school campuses
And other
strictly?
emergencies on
But not
school
if there's
campuses.
one at any of the municipal offices?
No, this is primarily for, and specifically for primary and secondary schools.
Okay.
Emergencies that happen there.
And same thing for any of the public spaces like the parks?
It would
This
not
does
apply that.
Does not apply.
No,
All right,
this-
just want to be clear. Thank you.
This is, like you said, in response to the Uvalde shooting,
I get it.
where there was a lack of information. So the state has required us to appoint someone.
Thank you.
Any other questions, gentlemen? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed state nay. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Agenda item 5D, consideration and possible action approving resolution number 2025-2949, deeming property surplus and donating to local police departments. Chief Howell.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So we have some Zebra mobile printers, and I know when you hear printers, you often think of the ones that you utilize for your computers, but these are a smaller specific that are used in patrol vehicles and connected to the ticket writers. And so those are what officers would use to print up citations on. These printers have been one that haven't been utilized for a period of time. They've been in a box because we're on a different system, and there's a department and everything that still utilizes that style of printer, and so we wanted to be able to share the love with that department.
Thank you, Chief. Council, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
We have a motion to approve by Councilman Davis. Is there a second?
Guess I'll second.
Second by Councilman Rosso. Any discussion, gentlemen?
Yeah, I'm curious, what agency that is, and for that matter, the estimated value of those printers?
The agency's Iowa Colony. As far as value, I wouldn't know really any amount to put since they're no longer serviceable. They're over 15 years old, so if it breaks, the company's not gonna do anything for them. And like I said, since they're very specific type of printer for a specific purpose.
Can we get any of the ticket revenue that they print out on those tickets?
I can definitely ask.
That'd be
I mean,
nice, that'd be nice.
I would say as far as, to answer your question, as far as value goes, to us, they've been sitting in a box, so
Yeah.
there's no value.
Collecting dust, so it's just it's a little space that I get back in a closet, so.
So to an officer that's gonna put it in his vehicle and to use it, substantial amount of value.
Yeah, I was about to say, they'll be able to, now they have a couple of vehicles that they can utilize now in traffic to be able to place these printers in service for them.
I just know that 288 stretch on Iowa Colony is one of the safest stretches.
Yes.
Thank you.
Just remind them next time you're in town.
That you donated that, so.
Yeah, when you get stopped. This zebra printers online are auctioned for about $20, so.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So have these devices been wiped? Because they do have random access memory, which stores.
I can double check with David.
David.
I know David has a pretty good habit of anything he takes out of service, he clears, but I will definitely double check with him.
Okay, because, yeah, I don't want these devices going out, because you stated they were used to print ticketing information, which could store residents'
Personal information.
Personal information.
Yes, sir.
Myself, I'm very familiar with zebra printers. We actually don't give these away. We actually e-cycle them because they can hold data that you cannot wipe.
Right.
And so, honestly, I think this is a bad idea for these model of printers for us to actually donate. These should be printers that we should actually e-cycle. That way they're disposed of properly. But we gotta have some type of guarantee that they've been wiped, even if we pull out the memory on it.
Okay. Yeah, I can have David and then have Toby be a double safe, so that way we have two avenues to make sure of that.
Yeah, because there are still, I think it's the ZQ 520, those are still actually not end of life by the manufacturer until next year. In my research, the RW 420s were end of life in 2020.
Okay.
So that means they definitely can't be repaired or replaced.
Okay, my apologies. I was told, yeah, both models were end of life, so.
So, yeah, I'm really hesitant on these models of printers, because like I stated, we utilize those where I work, and that's something that, it's very difficult to make sure that you remove all data, and especially with it being, could be sensitive data.
Right.
That's something that I don't feel comfortable with. Okay, that's all I have.
And it is going to another law enforcement agency. It is not going up on public auction, my apologies, to be able to be utilized for anywhere. It's the information that is on there. If there was something that did not get wiped, it's still with the criminal justice agency that is entitled to the same information that we have. But I will definitely get with David, and then, like I said, have Toby as well, just kind of as a fail-safe.
Oh, that's a very interesting delineation or distinction of the information here, the talking point. So is it what you just said here, basically stating that regardless whether it's on RAM or not, or on the memory cards, or on the memory chips, or on the hard drives, that this information is already shared with Iowa Colony's law enforcement agencies?
It's information that's available like through the Texas Department of Public Safety, which is shared with all law enforcement agencies.
So they would all have
It's a part of
those
the criminal-
records of any vehicle, or I should say driving violations,
Driving violations.
whatever kind of
driving
tickets that
record,
were printed
vehicle.
up on there.
And so that all ties into the Criminal Justice Information System, what we refer to as CJIS.
So then do we really need to concern ourselves with that extra swiping of it? If it's deemed clean, do we need to concern ourselves of any additional liability if in fact they are already privy to that information?
Yes, there is the option that potentially, when they are finished with it, they would auction it off, let's say. And then there is concern, because they
So I
may
think it's
auction it
just,
off
yeah, the
online.
fail-safe for us.
I mean, I would just feel safer
Well,
if they
then-
do the search, just like what she's talking about with two different people looking at it. And if we're not convinced that it's clean, then we won't hand it over.
I'd almost like it to be where you guys are convinced, and then it comes back to council, versus we've passed it, it's convinced, and somebody asks me, hey, so whatever happened to those printers? I don't know.
Okay.
Can we do that? That would require, though, the recalling of the vote.
Sure.
The motion, rather.
I feel like we can either bring it back to council, or we could amend it to, if it is looked at and wiped, then proceed, and if there's an issue, then don't proceed.
Yeah,
So-
whatever makes y'all most
Yeah.
comfortable.
Council, that's up to you. Councilman Davis, you made the motion.
I'll take back my motion.
Councilman Davis takes back his motion. Councilman Rosso?
Same here.
He takes back his second. So, do I hear a motion to table this, or do we even need to?
If we need to make a motion to table, I'll table it.
We have a motion to table by Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Second by Councilman Rosso. So, you know what we were looking for.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Motion to table, all those in favor state aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Good catch, George.
Agenda item 5E, discuss and take possible action to require all city boards to allow 4 minutes for public comments consistent with city council's recent agenda resolution changes and actions. Councilman Pena.
Mayor, yeah, this resolution was brought forward to me in terms of resident feedback. They really liked what the council did in terms of what we did for the residents here for our council meetings, and they thought, hey, why don't we have that for all the boards as long as it's compliant with the charter? And that's really it, just to make sure that we're operating uniformly throughout the city. That's it, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I'd make a motion to approve it.
I have a motion to approve by Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Davis. Any discussion needed on this, gentlemen?
Yes, Mayor, I do. This is being brought up because of our EDC. They changed their citizens' comments to 2 minutes. Is that correct, Jeff? Is that why you're bringing this?
I don't believe this resolution is applicable to the EDC. No, this was just for the city boards. The EDC is independent. The EDC, I believe, can operate however they see fit. If legal wants to correct me on that, that's what I thought I understood, EDC being independent.
Well, y'all will just need to clarify that in how you vote. If that's your motion, that that's your intent.
Well, I think, obviously, if in fact our motion can affect the EDC so that the city is operating as a whole with 4 minutes, I don't know why any resident who's volunteering on the EDC board would want to minimize the input of their neighbors. So, remind me if, do we have that language that the EDC is included? I don't recall if it was in there or not. It's
I mean,
page,
to my knowledge, I think it can apply to the EDC even though it's a component fund. The only question I really had is in the charter, it mentions one or two boards where it says, the charter says, they'll make their own procedures. So if their procedure is 2 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever that is, I don't know that's a question for Chris. If the ordinance can impact that or not, but that would only be whatever's mentioned in the charter where it says they make their own rules of procedure.
Right, so planning and zoning in the city charter says that they make their, in charge of their own procedures. And so there's a question, I mean, there's no clear attorney general opinion or case law that says, you know, is this the 4 minutes or the 2 minutes or whatever? Is that the meaning of the procedure in the city charter, or is it just their procedures for how they take votes or whatever? So in this ordinance, proposed ordinance, it's basically limited to as long as it doesn't violate the charter, right?
Yeah.
So that's a question that may have to be resolved down the road. As it is right now, I don't think that's the procedure in planning and zoning now, so I don't think there's a conflict. If the issue comes up and they want to, you know, pass a rule about citizen comment that's different from this ordinance, then we can take that up at that time, but I don't think that's an issue. But, you know, the city charter is the prevailing law, so we can't do anything that violates the city charter.
then if the ordinance contemplates everything that's in accordance with the charter, then that's what I want to make sure that we include, so that the city is running uniformly throughout all the boards as dictated by the charter. And if that means the EDC is also in that, so be it. If it means the P&Z has the exception, so be it. We can always make the charter changes through the charter review board, but as far as how the city's operating, it should be operating the very same way the city council, which is the really the for lack of a better, well, I'm trying to make sure, I always want to make sure I use the right words here. It really is the highest order of representation of how the city's going to operate. And if we've already established that, yes, the mayor came out and said, yeah, we'll do the 4 minutes, then we need to make sure that everybody abides by that procedure per the mayor's, and this council, I should say. I know the mayor had made that recommendation and the council voted on it, that we act and vote and conduct city business uniformly. So I'm fine with the motion to approve it.
And so that, going back to the EDC, that's why I asked your question if your intent was to have it apply to the EDC or not. Because I believe that the EDC is an independent nonprofit, and the authority over the EDC by the city council is limited as set forth in the statute. So all y'all can do is appoint and remove, approve their budget, and approve their projects. But other than that, they're run themselves. So I don't think that the city council will have the authority to tell the EDC how many minutes they can, you know, they must have on their citizen comments, because the statute is very clear that the city council's supervision of the EDC is limited to only those 3 items.
Well, that was my first comment to answer Councilman Matamoros' question, is that I don't believe this resolution was intended to contemplate or influence the EDC's decision. However, definitely the city boards, and hopefully, however, that the board members, the residents, our next door neighbors get the message that we really need to really focus in on transparency and allowing the residents to participate the same way the rest of the city is operating, that they are not operating under an island of their own making, but that also the council appoints and removes said members on the EDC. That's all I have.
Council, any other questions, comments, input?
Yeah, I'm not trying to remove anybody. I just want to make sure that the boards are all operating uniformly. That's all, Mayor.
I understand that.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so the reason I had the question was because under section 2 within this resolution, it states council-appointed board. And so EDC was one, but that's been cleared up. As a liaison to both planning and zoning and Board of Adjustments, I can say without a doubt that neither one of those boards have limited the time of the residents to speak at those meetings. They are at 4 minutes. Just get that out there that that's stated. And then my last thought is, if we're going to do this, we really need to go one step further. I mean, those boards are volunteers. They shouldn't have to be berated by lunatics who come up and want to go after them for no sane reason. And so if they want to come after us, that's fine. I mean, we're voted into this position. So, I mean, if we're really going to do this, we really need to make sure that those volunteers aren't berated for no reason whatsoever. That's all I have, Mayor.
Council, any other questions or comments?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
well, we want to apologize, make sure we weren't calling citizens lunatics, but we want to make sure that the citizens have a voice in this city. I mean, you're a taxpayer and you have the right. Now, you can't go up and now cussing and going on and all that type of stuff, but we want you to be respectful, but we want you to be heard, your voice to be heard. And that's for every board in the city of Freeport. And that's the type of city that we want to be known as. You know, a transparent city, and everybody has a voice. You're a taxpayer, and you have a voice, and you should be able to speak. Now, if they put a time limit on it, this is just, so once somebody does it, it starts a trend, you know. So we're saying maybe, well, nobody else has done it. Well, they seen somebody else, another board be successful in doing it. So now, once you get tired of hearing another citizen in another board, and then y'all get together, and then you say, well, we're gonna just change the speaking limit and change it down to 2 minutes. No, we're not gonna. We're hoping not to start that. I mean, you know, we're not trying to cut the citizens out to talk. You have a voice. You should have a right to speak. And everybody has a time limit, but your voice shouldn't be cut out. And that's why I agreed to look into this.
Thank you, Councilman. Council, any other questions or comments?
Just a quick comment that, from my understanding, and we can research it later, but EDC, council approves EDC's bylaws. So if council wants that procedure changed, it would do that through its bylaws, which would then be mandatory on the EDC. So while it wouldn't be changed like we're doing to the boards with this item, it could be. We'll confirm that, though, tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm on the fence with this. You know, on one hand, I can understand the uniformity, but on the other hand, we should trust the people that we appoint to the boards to run their meetings in a professional manner. And hope that they would look at council and say, hey, these guys are running it in a pretty professional way, so maybe we should try to do the same. I'm not 100% for this. While we're stalling to make up my mind, I've got a question for legal. There is a resolution in the packet, and there's a resolution that was laid up here in front of us whenever we got here this evening.
Chris could explain, yeah.
Can you explain to me, on the one that was laid up in here, there's an extra section that I do not agree with. Section number 5 on the resolution that was up here. Section for those that don't have the two that we have. Section number 5 says, if the city council allows members of the public to speak during different times under the agenda, the member of the public may apportion their 4 minutes among the different agenda items, as long as their total speaking time does not exceed the 4 minutes. And the reason I have a concern with that is we also have a resolution number 2023-2820, which was passed by council on October 16, 2023, which states any resident of Freeport may comment for up to 4 minutes during the public comment section or at the beginning of a specific agenda item at each regular city council meeting if they comply with these rules. A resident may only comment once during a city council meeting. So before I go any further, can you enlighten me on which resolution we are looking at?
Okay, so yes, if you voted for the resolution that's in front of you that's been printed out, then that would change the rule that was previously passed by City Council. So the rule under the previous resolution says that each person only gets to talk once. And they can talk, at the beginning, they can talk when an agenda item comes up, but they can't split their time up 1 minute here, 3 minutes there, and so forth. So, so if you voted for the resolution that's presented in front of you, that would change that rule. So, and that's a council decision, whichever way you want to go. Or you can make a motion if you like the resolution in front of you, but for Section 5, and you say, hey, I want to make a motion to pass the resolution, but remove Section 5 and keep the rule that the person can only talk once during a council meeting.
Mayor, let me add to that.
Yes, sir.
Because I want to make sure that where this all came from. Back in July, when we changed it, everybody was like, hallelujah, thank you. Council's trying to be more transparent. We got the 4 minutes. But the follow-up to that meeting was, the feedback from that meeting was, and the questions were, hey, does this mean we're going to get to speak on the various agenda items like we were before? And I know you were clocking that before, and I can't remember why we changed it or why you had changed it so that, I think it just got unilaterally changed last summer. And I'm not sure if we had an ordinance or not. However, I know that because we actually formally changed it this summer in July to allow the 4 minutes up front, that the question was like, well, okay, so since now we're really trying to move forward in a healthy direction of transparency, 4 minutes, are we going to get the opportunity to give feedback at those various agenda items. And so that's why I brought that up, because you probably heard those same phone calls too. But that's why I put it up there and, put it on the agenda, so that not only do we get the 4 minutes formally adopted as good housekeeping, but that also we can afford the residents. Listen, it doesn't change our ability to facilitate these meetings to say, hey, you're out of line. You may have 1 minute left, but you're out of line, and someone's being disorderly, then they're silenced and cut off. But for those that are making a meaningful contribution, I don't see why there's a problem. I think that was what we were talking about earlier. I think Councilman Matamoros, not so eloquently stated, but that was the whole point, is that let's make sure we don't allow the disruptive dialogue, right? The non-constructive dialogue. And I'm cool with that. I think everybody's cool with that. Because the other alternative here, as I understand it, is that then every agenda request will require that every councilman identifies every citizen that they want to call upon as, subject matter experts, have some kind of value to it. And at that point, those individuals are not limited to 4 minutes, because now they're formally part of the agenda consultation. And so I'd rather avoid all that other minutia and just keep it simple. Like, if we were doing it before and it was working just fine, why wouldn't we want to go back to making it right?
I agree with, first of all, council, any other comments on this? I don't want it to turn into a back and forth between me and Councilman Pena.
What resolution are we voting on? Is it the one in our packet, or is it the one that was put in front of us this evening before? Because
the one that was put in front of us, not the one that's in the packet, but the one that was laying on the counter as we got here, this section 5 was added to it.
okay. Well then, honestly, Mayor, where's the transparency in this? I'm just reading over it. I was going off of packet. I've done all my research off of what's in the packet, and now I'm seeing a different document with a section that's been added and modified. Where's the transparency in this?
Yes. And my take, excuse me, Councilman, my take, and Councilman Pena had mentioned making it easy. My take is it doesn't get any easier. We can sign up to speak in public comments. If there is a specific item that you want to talk about, then you have the opportunity to speak on that item, whether you want to do it in public comments or you want to do it before we deliberate in that particular item. In my opinion, it doesn't get much easier than that. I have sat in several meetings where people in the audience, the committee is discussing or going on about their business, and then someone in the audience raises their hand and they come up, and then they sit down. Someone else raise their hand, come up, and they sit down. And it creates a real disruptive meeting.
Well, that's one thing that's important to note, is that citizens have a right to voice their opinion and say what they want to say to the city council. However, citizens do not participate in the deliberation, right? And so whether you make your statement of what you want the council to know at the beginning of citizen comment, or you say it when the agenda item comes up, that's your opportunity. But once there's a motion and a second, and then the council starts to deliberate, there shouldn't be back and forth debate with citizens or further citizen comments, because the council is the one that deliberates. And they've already heard your opinion, at the beginning of the agenda item, right? Now, it's a little bit different when we have public hearings. Public hearings are actually designed, that's the difference between a regular action item and a public hearing. Public hearing, there is some give and take back and forth. But in a council meeting, and I know that, the mayor and prior mayor, they've given citizens a lot of opportunity to come back and forth and kind of, the council talks about it a little bit, and then the issue comes up, and then the citizen wants to have their 2 cents or whatever. But the proper way to do it is, it's important legally that citizens are not in the deliberation. They're only making a statement to council. There's no back and forth. There's no question-answer session that goes back and forth with the citizens. You let the council know what is your position on this agenda item, and then once the council starts to deliberate, then the council is discussing. And then the citizens get to see y'all's conversation, gets to see how y'all deliberate, what your thoughts are, what is your reasoning, and why you voted, right? But, in order to, whether council ultimately decides to just allow comment at the beginning, or at the beginning of an agenda item, let them speak only one time during a meeting, or let them, bank their hours and speak 2 minutes here and 3 minutes there, or whatever. That's up to y'all's, discretion to decide how you do that. But the point that the mayor just made about the people coming up during the conversation, I think that's not following the proper legal procedure. That once council starts deliberating, then it's limited only to council deliberation. It's not a collaborative effort at that point.
Yeah.
Council, any other questions or comments on this?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So, once again, we back to, the citizens' rights. I've seen times where citizens don't use their whole 4 minutes at the beginning. So they may have talked 3 minutes, but we have, we ask citizens to come here, and we want them, I guess, to express yourself. But we have different agendas at the meeting. It's different agendas. So I'm a citizen, and I got something to say about that, and something to say about that, but I want to hear what they're going to be discussing or whatever. But I want to talk about this one during that point of time when that agenda's up, and then later on I got a question on that agenda down at the bottom. So I still got a minute and a half left. I should be able to use my minute and a half before, and so I just scratched my minute and a half that I got at the beginning. I can't say anything else. I mean, we're all adults in here. I mean, we have to be respectful and go in order. And like he just explained, the lawyer just explained, during deliberation time, I want to say something. No, we got the agenda, we on this agenda. Well, I want to say something. I got a minute and a half left. He or she should be able to come up and use their minute and a half on that specific agenda. And you can't get no more transparent than that. And we want to talk about this ain't transparent. Well, I didn't hear none of this when Olsen was here. So that's what we're working on here now, transparency.
Jerry, what was the last part of your heartburn?
Now say it. Say it again.
What's the remaining heartburn that you have?
My heartburn is running this meeting as a professionally run meeting. Okay. A lot of us have been around long enough to experience some meetings in this council chambers that may not have been that professionally run. And that's my ultimate goal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and I think by having the set rules, it also keeps people from walking in, interrupting the meeting because they're raising their hand, wanting to talk. Well, have you filled out a form yet? You know, no, I haven't. Well, you know, we have rules for a reason.
Right.
Okay, those are my
Well,
main bits of heartburn.
I'll just say that, you know, what I've seen here over the last year is a lot of subjective application. And it's almost been like, well, if the crowd's really rowdy, we'll go ahead and let some of them speak. And then we'll say, don't forget to do your sign-in. And that has been under, you know, over the last year, right? So this cleans that up. Like you're saying, hey, sign up for it at the beginning. Say in the beginning, you can speak at the beginning, you got your 4 minutes, you want number 5, put on there number 5. You didn't put up number 5, then, you know, you don't want to be just hard fast, but let's just say they didn't put up number 5. And they go up there and they speak 2 minutes. But while they're speaking, they said, hey, on my sheet, I wanted to put number 5, I just remembered, can you put it there? That's the time to do it, right? At the beginning of the meeting.
At the beginning of the meeting, if they wanted to speak on number 5, well, you already have the mic, you're at the podium, go ahead and let me know what you want to know about number 5.
But I know you well enough to know this. On your better days, on your best days, really, is that you really want all the information shared with you so you have an understanding. So when you and I both see some resident that says, you know what, they know something we don't, we make that exception. I've seen you make that exception. And I'm glad that you do, and I'm glad they're glad that you do, and the community loves it. But, so that's what I'm trying to say is like, why would you want to tire your own hands from that ability? And so
I have not made that exception since we set this standard.
And that's why, though, when we decided to go from the 2 minutes back to the 4 minutes, everybody was like, thank goodness. Maybe it's a fresher breath air. Maybe it was Olson and Olson. Maybe it was Petty. But they're liking the fact that you went from 2 minutes to 4 minutes and then having the opportunity to speak and contribute.
I have always encouraged
Yep.
people to speak and contribute, but I want it done in proper manner. Now, council, I am but one vote.
Yeah. Well, I don't think this ordinance ultimately changes what you do, because you would still be in charge.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
And they still have to sign up
They still have to
before.
sign up?
It's not walk through the door and put your hand up. You still have to go through the
That's
process.
what comes next.
It's not, I mean, but you can't,
we've
but
been
then
here.
you can't allow that.
You
I
can't
mean,
allow
that's
it.
not the
We've been
rule.
here.
That's not the rule, so it's
The
it's
rule
not-
is at the beginning.
It's only the people that have signed up, and so she had a minute and 30 seconds left, so that's why she's getting to speak again. We encourage you to get here at the beginning, so you can sign the paper, and you can speak, just like everyone else, and then we can eliminate this problem that you're having.
You know, council, I am but one vote. And that's where I stand on this.
Sure.
I think section 5, if it's in here, there's no way I'm gonna vote for it. If it's removed, then I might, but I am but one vote. So. Any other questions or comments on this, gentlemen?
Section 5 is just the apportioning of the remaining time. But ultimately, nobody gets more than 4. It's
It's not another 4 minutes.
everybody gets
It's
4
just
minutes,
4
and
minutes.
everybody signs up at the beginning.
Yeah.
If you don't sign up in the beginning, sorry.
Yeah,
That's what this rule is. It's just, we're just trying to formalize
you
it.
don't get an extra 4 minutes.
Yeah,
You get your minute left that you had. That's just only fair.
The only thing I wanted to mention was the question about why there was one laid up here. The draft that was worked on was submitted, that was what was posted, but work continued on another draft. Possibly it was because of the section 5, I don't know, but what we're required to post is the agenda, and that was notice of the item. The item, the backup, can come later. We don't prefer to do it that way, and that's not how I want to do it. But this item came up afterwards, so I said, okay, well, if it's gonna come up afterwards, give everybody a copy and put it up there on the table for the public to see. But that's why this was up here, that work continued on it after the posting. So we wanted to make sure that was what was provided.
Thank you for that clarification. Council, any other questions or comments on agenda item 5E? Hearing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor state aye.
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 All opposed state nay.
Nay.
Nay. Motion carries 3-2.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Matamoros and myself being the nays.
That was good discussion, by the way. Thank you, Mayor.
Agenda item 5F. Discuss and take possible action to establish rules for board member nominations by council and city board members. Councilman Pena.
Thank you, Mayor. This here was brought forward to me here when we were selecting boards back in May. And residents were, I think we had Mr., what was his name? Frazier come up earlier about that, the board selection process, that folks were encouraged to come out and put their names in the hat for these various boards, only to be really not even considered because there was a slew of 5 other folks that were just.
Councilman?
Yeah?
Can you?
I'm giving the background to this, sir.
Can we get through the background and then we'll make a motion and then?
Oh, well, I thought you asked me why I put it on here.
I'm asking what the agenda item's about.
Well, that's what I'm describing. Why I put it on the agenda. That's why. So, if you want to make a motion to approve it first and then we talk about it, but you had asked me why I put it on there, that's why I went that dialogue.
Most cases, Councilman, just for future references, they'll read the item summary. Okay, the item summary is council seeks to discuss and take action to establish a standard procedure for nominations to city boards.
Yeah.
La-da-da. And then once we go into deliberation, you want to get off.
Okay. Well, I don't want to get off topic. I want to stay on the agenda, but I'll make the motion so that we can freely discuss it. But at this, so I'll make a motion that we approve this resolution to establish the rules for board member nominations by the city council for the city board members.
So we have a motion to approve.
For both the council and city board members.
By Councilman Pena. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Davis. Now, proceed.
Yeah, I was born the son of a sharecropper. No, sorry, that's too far back. Tough crowd at this hour, I guess. I won't quit my day job, Mayor. No, like I said, folks were saying, hey, listen, and even tonight, but even back in May, they were saying, hey, man, you guys were telling us to apply, and we all applied. We took the time to do it. We filled out the applications. We've actually been going to the meetings, getting an understanding of what actually happens. And then they get here and they have no chance to even speak for themselves, to be considered. And just the unilateral sweep and installment of 5 other residents that were either, in some cases, never attending any of those board meetings, in some cases, never even really attending council meetings. And in other cases, there's been cases where those nominees have not attended and ultimately resigned or removed. And so it's like, This is just to clean that up so that in fact, we give every resident the opportunity without sounding like we're talking out of both sides of our mouths and saying, hey, we want you to apply. If you're interested, thank you. Let's apply. We want you involved. And then be consistent by allowing each person to have their moment to express why they want to be a part of the city, express why they want to be a part of that board. And that not only can council hear it, but the public can hear it, and it really helps to demonstrate, you know what? The council is leading. The council is doing the right thing. They're getting the people that want to be involved, and we see who they are. You know, my biggest pet peeve, my biggest heartburn has always been, where is that person tonight that we're nominating? They're not even here. That makes no sense. It's almost inconsistent. Why would you want to volunteer for something and then you're not even there at the meeting where you're it's like you running for mayor, and then the day we're swearing you in, you're like, yeah, I'm taking a day off. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. So here, you know, we're elected officials. Those guys, we're selecting them. And that's really the spirit of it all. If we're trying to encourage residents who really want to help, who are coming here staying the whole meetings, and these meetings get long, those are the people we want. And that's all this is so that each one can get a chance to speak and be a part of our city growth and change. That's all I have, Mayor. So I'll make a motion to approve it. I think I already did. We have a second. So.
For some reason, I don't think that's all he has, but maybe for now. Council, any other questions or comments on this?
Yeah.
Hold on a second, Mayor.
It's coming.
You're making a joke, and you didn't let me make a joke. Or you,
No, that wasn't a joke. That was a fact.
Fair enough.
And you did attempt one.
I just tried. You know.
Councilman Davis.
Are y'all done? I can't make a joke? All right. Hey, yeah, on this agenda change, I mean, this charter change, what is it? Yeah. The reason being, it's just not, it's not fair to me. It's not fair to any councilman up here when it comes time to select a board member that goes on these boards. I haven't seen it done anywhere like this. No one calls out 5 board members at one time and make a motion. And I mean, and it's like, you know, my wife got on to me last time because she said, don't you be up there racing nobody to say, I want to make a motion. You look like a, you know, I say, you know what, I'm sorry, babe. But I mean, that's what you got to do to get in here to get a motion in. I mean, so we shouldn't have to do that and look like that up here, you know, like some little kids. Tag, you it. I mean, you know, for somebody to come, from one of us to come up here and be able to make a motion and call out 5 people to put on a board. Now, that's not fair to me and somebody that I want to vote for, because it may be 1 or 2 people in that 5 that I want to vote for. And then it's 2 people that I don't agree with, and then 1 I'm on the fence with. I mean, so that's not even fair to me. If I got some people over here, 2 people over here, or he got 2 people, or he got 1 person, and we voting for 5 people at one time. So I can't vote yes because I don't agree with these 2, and I'm not even sure about this other one. But I do agree with these 2 that he voted for. So that puts me in a bind. Like, I have to vote for 2 people that I don't agree with. And we all have the right to agree to disagree up here. That's fine. If you don't agree with who I submit up there, that's fine. The majority rules. But don't put 5 people up here and expect us to vote on that. That's just not fair. And we need to change that method of the way that we vote and make it fair for each councilman. And that is a good idea that, you know, the people need people need to show up. If you want to be a part of this board, I mean, you need to show up this date. It's like when they send you something to go to court, they give you a date and you need to be there. Well, there's consequences. I mean, that shows your loyalty. That's part of your loyalty right there. And then come up here and tell me why you want to be on that board. What are you gonna bring to what do you bring to the table? Or just introduce yourself. Hey, my name is so and so. I live in so and so. I mean, come on, but we shouldn't be voting 4 and 5 people at one time. It's not fair.
Council, any other questions or comments?
The ordinance that was presented to us has got some.
Can you get closer to the mic?
The ordinance that's been put on the desk has got some incorrect numbering, so that needs to be fixed or corrected before we should take a vote on this.
Are you talking about the addition of number 5?
Yeah, there's
Oh, 2 fours.
There's
in
2
the back.
4s.
That's nominal, right?
Plus, there was a number 5 that was added to it, which I have heartburn.
What's the 5 on?
No, you talking about the prior item or the current one?
On the one that was laid on our desk,
Oh, okay.
has a number 5 that says no person may be selected or appointed, voted on unless the person is present and in person.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. I have heartburn with that because there are different reasons that a person may not be able to be at the meeting. You know, if a councilman is on the board or on the fence per se between A and B, A's not here, so they put a little more emphasis on B, and B gets the vote, I'm okay with that. But if the person is working shift work and he's out at the plant and he can't make it to the meeting where they're just making the appointments, I do not feel comfortable holding that against him.
Make it without an excuse.
I'm sorry?
Add without an excuse.
Just take it off. Just take it off, and when you're making your decision, you know, you can put more stock in the person that showed up than the person that
So what you're
didn't.
saying is that you agree with this ordinance that, quite frankly, it provides more professionalism by the council, and professional courtesy to everybody, that we're conducting business professionally by selecting any and every board member with equal consideration. That's the whole spirit of it all. I'll just say that, and you can vote however you wish, Mayor, on number 5. But the reason I included that language was because more often than not, that those folks that never showed up for the actual vote, never showed up for the board either. And so, you know, you want to talk about professional courtesy about how we're conducting business. It's a professional courtesy also that if you're going to sign up for these boards, the day you're actually being selected, you might want to have enough courtesy to show up so that the council can actually consider you adequately and fairly. It's not fair to everybody else that shows up. It's not fair to the public. You know, I think about, if you don't have the time to be to the meeting, you may not have the time to be on the board. That's the message it sends. And so that's why you know, you can vote on number 5 that you think it should be off. That's why I think it should be in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're telling me if it's off, you're going to move forward to vote on that.
I'm saying, you know, some people work on Mondays.
Yeah, today's Tuesday, though.
I'm well aware of that, but typically whenever we have the meeting where we're going to appoint these,
We
it's
are.
going to be on a Monday. However, the meetings that they are going to be on in the particular board that they're wanting to go to is, Thursday at noon.
I don't know where there's a Thursday at noon board meeting.
What time do the seniors meet?
They don't work.
At noon, I thought.
At 10? 10 on
On
Thursdays?
a Monday.
Okay, well,
They meet on a Monday.
that was a bad,
Really?
yeah.
We're talking about seniors? Seniors meet on Mondays.
Yeah.
Yeah, they meet on Mondays after the bingo.
At noon.
Actually,
Yeah, but it's after the bingo.
Yeah, but
They're all there.
I'm saying, they might not want to be out here till midnight because our meetings go till so long.
Well,
You know,
meetings go so long because we've been holding off meetings, but that's another fun conversation.
but
You do that.
I know.
there's to answer your question, there's several reasons why I do not like number 5. Okay, and I'm perfectly fine with if you
Well,
feel the need to hold it against someone because they don't show up and
This resolution that I put forward here is completely with the feedback from the residents that applied previously and didn't get on. This was their heartburn. I'm just the messenger, dude. You saw Mr. Frazier? He had the heartburn about it. Miss Shonda Marshall had heartburn about it. And so she's not here tonight, but I'm gonna make sure that I voice her concern because she wants to know, is she gonna be allowed to be on a board ever again? Because she felt that she was, removed from a board and wants to be back at it. And so I'm like, okay, sorry, Miss Marshall, you're not here tonight, so you can't be considered? No. Or yes. I'm thinking, those that want to be here are here. You have perfect attendance, I have perfect attendance. Jarvis has perfect attendance, Lasso has perfect attendance. Can't remember if George has perfect attendance. But the point I want to make is that we're here because we made that commitment. We're volunteers, we're elected volunteers. These other folks that came up, we have 4 folks here, 5 folks here that are always here almost at every meeting to the end. Whether I disagree with them or agree with them, or they agree with me or disagree with me, I will say, I respect the fact that they're here every time. So kudos to all of you guys, seriously. Anyway, that's all I have, Mayor.
Council, any other questions or comments on this? And for the record, I was correct. He was not finished when he said it earlier.
Well, let me ask you this.
So
Mayor.
I will call the vote.
Well, I was about to just ask one last question before you called it.
All those in favor to approve agenda item 5F, state aye.
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 All opposed, state nay.
Nay.
Nay. I didn't hear Councilman. Aye. Okay, so motion passes 3-2.
Thank you, Mayor.
Councilman Matamoros and myself being the nays.
Mayor, the question came up on these 2 items of the 2 that were laid on the desk are the ones being passed.
Yeah.
Okay.
City Council Agenda Item 5G, consideration of engaging qualified real estate representation to improve house development outcomes. Councilman Pena, take us through.
Yes, Mayor. Actually, I'm trying to remember. I think I sent this request in as simply
It's just-
information. Well, no, I wanted to make sure we had it in here this way, but I have this map that I asked Ms. Kramer about to identify all the properties that the city has. Did everybody get that in their packet? So here's a map of the city, and everything in orange is what the city owns. You can see way down here at the bottom side is where the bird sanctuary is. Over here, right there, is where O.A. Fleming is?
Mr. Davis, can you put the mic in front of his,
Let me try to do it this way, in an awkward position. Needless to say, there's just real estate that the city owns, and I'm not even including the EDC properties that's under their jurisdiction at the moment. And the idea is, you know, we keep asking for residential development. We gotta get moving. And so I've been saying this for 6 years. Yeah, even since I was on the EDC. Let's get this listed with a professional realtor. I think it was CBRE. They put that piece of property, that warehouse on 4th Street, up for $1.9 million. The very same time that that property that the EDC was given to the Dollar General for $150,000, and it was the property on the Dollar General was actually bigger, but they were giving it away for $150,000. The guys on the warehouse were selling theirs for $1.9 million. They got it. Now that place, tons of lights. The warehouses some have been removed, all the ones that were dilapidated and for that matter damaged through the storms, and then they've put up new structure, they put a new fence. Anyway, the point I want to make is that was a private property that got sold because it was listed by a professional commercial real estate company out of Houston that had the expertise and the tools to get it done. I mean, no one's going to know about these properties unless they're coming down to Freeport and driving by these random streets. No one's going to do that. It's got to be listed. And that's all this is about, is that let's get these moving so we can start building some houses and get fair market value for them.
I don't have any heartburn with that.
That's cool. Well, then
Council, anyone else?
I'll make a motion then.
It's not a motion item.
Is it? So then it's just really kind of an instruction to the City Hall staff. That's fine. You don't have any heartburn, Mayor? Good, me neither.
Council, you got anything to add, take away?
I think it's worth looking into. I mean, I think everybody up here can agree that, you know, we need rooftops. So I've heard each and every last one of y'all say, you know, we need rooftops. We want to get rooftops. I know, you know, Dan's just got here. So I don't know have he heard anything on any of these big properties on Skinner Street and you know, the old, what is that?
O.A. Fleming.
O.A. Fleming property. You know, I think I seen in the paper the other day a realtor in a real estate company in Angleton. I think they had done some work in Angleton, and they were talking about the housing market and how they were building these homes, and the homes are selling, and surprisingly, you know, they saying the way the market was going, the homes were still selling in I think 30 to 90 days, you know, still today, and it was in the paper just maybe last week, you know. And they were in the Angleton area, but they were talking about all of the, you know, our colony, Angleton, Lake Jackson, you know, they even mentioned Freeport, but it wasn't no growth, but, you know, they just had us, Richwood, all the names in there. And they were just talking about how the housing market and how they were, I guess, how they market and they're still being able to sell houses. And so it is a market out there. And so we need to get in it. We got property, and if that's a way that's going to help us promote this property and get it out there, I think it's worth looking into. Now, we'd have to get more information on it and what it costs and what it does, and but I just think it's worth looking into.
Councilman Rosso, you got anything to add?
I'm for rooftops, always have been. I've voiced that opinion since I've been on this council. I know it's gonna take money to advertise, so whoever's gonna look into it need to know that it's gonna cost. It's gonna cost us money. It's just up to the city. Does the city really want to sell that property? Because it's been vacant for years. So that's something we need to look at. Why are we not trying to sell it? That would be my question. Why are we not trying to sell that land? That's all I got.
All right, thank you, Councilman. No, I agree, rooftops are important, and every new house that's been built in Freeport in the last, 5 years have all been sold. Someone's living in them. I'm a firm believer that if we get 50 or 100 new homes over here off of Skinner Street, then those too will sell. Understand that getting someone to put the property out there is just part of the challenge. We still have to figure out how to get the infrastructure put in. So I'm for it. Let's I think Councilman Pena put a couple suggestions on here on who to contact, and let's see what happens.
Mayor, we have been engaged with our representatives on the Skinner property. I think council last November reinstated a contract. I don't think there was a new contract, so we're not quite sure how solid that contract is, but nonetheless, the developer is ready. We'll probably bring our representatives in to talk to council at some point, provide their insight, and then we could bring the developers in after that.
Good. There's been quite a bit of investment in the developer that is currently looking at it, and when I say investment, not necessarily monetarily, but also time. So I feel like we should continue to work with these guys and see what we can come up with. But I will tell you, if it's not a win-win situation for the city, then it's going to be hard to go through with it. We do want rooftops, but we're not going to. We're not going to sacrifice. So, you got your marching orders there.
Yes, sir.
Work session. Councilman Pena, Ward A.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, thanks for everybody here that's still here. And we actually have the representative from the FACTS here, so glad you're here still. We have Ms. Green, Ms. Oldham, have Mr. and Mrs. Pearson here, and Mr. Bachman. Thank you guys for sticking around and being a part of this. I mean, for those who are at home, like I said earlier, residents will agree and disagree with council, but I tip my hat to all of those that are here every meeting. So kudos to you guys. You can see our council is really trying to move to be in a more professional environment. And so I appreciate everybody that came out and spoke as well. Mr. Frazier, Mr. Hayes came up, and Ms. Adams from the Hispanic Chamber, as well as Mr. Rollerson. And did I miss anybody? Well, I had a couple of items that I had jotted down that were brought to my attention, and I want to make sure that I touch on those. Number one, I'm glad that we've commemorated the Hispanic Heritage Month, number one, but I'm hoping that we see some form of activity in terms of an event for that month, especially since we didn't see any cultural events this year just yet, and we still have some time. I know that it was brought to my attention by the Hispanic Chamber that they were interested in, they are doing things countywide, but they're looking at possibly doing an event here. And I'm waiting to get those minutes or those notes to put it on possibly for the next agenda on the 15th or in October. But I want to thank the City Hall staff for working diligently here on the budget and for the work that we're going to be doing on that worksheet. Thank you to Mr. Pennington and Ms. Hurst, or Mrs. Hurst. And just wanted to ask 2 questions here. I got feedback from Magnolia and 12th that drainage ditch is still having some problems, but there was some manholes that were also showing flooding, and I don't know what the solution on that is. If
Viola's gonna try to get out there with a jet truck that told me today,
Okay.
just right before the meeting.
I appreciate it. And the only reason I bring it up is because, I want to let everybody know that I actually send a lot of emails to City Hall staff requesting or giving information, passing along information of requests by residents. And so I don't want to bog down the workshop with that information. But for those residents that are asking in multiples, I'll use the workshop so that they can see that, yes, they're being heard, they're being listened to, and the work is being done. I can confidently say that City Hall is being very responsive. And so tip my hat off to Public Works, Mr. Pennington, or Mr. Regal. Thank you, guys. And then the other issue, or the other item I had on here, bear with me, look at my notes, was, we had the rec center announce that they're truncating their hours or shortening them. And I'm just wondering how that works. Is the rec center supposed to be open 8 hours a day for the residents, or just 4 hours a day? I'm not sure what the standard is, what the historical has been, and for that matter, what our neighbors who also have rec centers also do. And so when I saw those hours come across, I had some questions, but then again, I get some more comments asking, hey, why are we cutting back on the rec centers? Do we have a staffing problem? Is there a facility problem? And so I'm just curious if those hours are driven by a mythical seasonal dip or a legitimate seasonal dip, and or is it because the facilities are not working? And so I wanted to make that comment and that question, and I don't know if we have a response on that from City Hall at this point.
To my knowledge, there's no issue with staff, no issue with, I was told that apparently this is what they do every year at this time when school goes back, as far as changing of the hours. But there's nothing broke at the facility. There's no issue with staff.
There's nothing broke at the facility at the moment? All right, thank you.
I can comment on that.
Except for the usher.
They changed, the time that they open it is at 8 o'clock. It used to be 7:30. That's a big difference for the people that's using it.
Yeah.
I was told by 3 different people that actually go there and use it. And so because it changed to 8 o'clock, which that's just their time, they go to another place.
Oh, wow.
That's it. It doesn't have anything to do with the facility. Doesn't have anything to do with the person. The person that comes to work at 8, I don't know if they're willing to pay them that extra 30 minutes, but word has to get around. I don't know, Rudy, you should know about
I know the seniors use it pretty aggressive. The seniors use the facilities frequently.
Yes, sir, and if I'm correct in stating this, and I'll have to go back and check it to make sure, but during the winter, when school's back in session, we're open from 3 to 7 in the afternoons.
Right.
To accommodate that. I do know that there are some times that we open for the seniors, certain days of the week, and I believe we're gonna still adhere to that. But the 7:30 to 8 o'clock, our staff normally starts at 8 o'clock there at the rec center, but that's something we can look into to adjust in their times.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I can pass the word to,
yeah.
I'm the
seniors,
liaison for the
yeah.
senior citizens, and they're the ones that use it. Once you, get it squared away, Rudy,
Yes, sir. I'll look
I
into it.
can pass it on to, 3 or 4 of them, and they can start coming there.
Yes, sir.
Councilman, I get a lot of messages. I mean, most seniors are early birds. I'm getting messages 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and so, I don't know.
That's just what they told me.
Yeah,
that-
what
that-
time does the rec center at the Lake Jackson open? I'm curious.
That's where
I
they're
don't know,
going.
but
That's
they
where
have
we're
an
going.
abundant more staff than what we have here.
Yeah, that's where they're going.
Rec
They're going to Lake Jackson.
Rudy, what is over there, 2 and a part-time?
We have the rec senior rec attendant, not senior rec,
Manager.
rec supervisor, the events coordinator, and then 3 part-time staff.
3 part-time.
But coming up with 30 minutes
30 minutes.
in the morning shouldn't be an issue.
We may be able to adjust some schedules, yes.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. I wanted to bring that up. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Davis.
Hold on, Rudy. All right, first of all, thank everybody for coming out and thanking everybody for hanging out with us. What is that? Let's say 9 o'clock? Let's say 9 o'clock? All right. We've been having 12:30, I think 11, 10:30. We're getting down to 9. It's going down, y'all. We're gonna be back. We're gonna be back on track here. We got one more meeting for the budget after we get that cleared up, and we're gonna be out of here, on time. All right. So it's going down. It's a positive thing, but we're getting a lot of stuff done. Well, thank y'all for coming out. Rudy, we got some grass, some grass issues
Yes, sir.
going around. Getting a couple of complaints, not a lot of complaints, and I'm also seeing, and I know it's been raining. So I try to tell them the same thing. It's been, it's raining, but then they like, well, people cutting grass around my neighborhood, I understand, but I try to throw that in there because that does, play a part in the factor. So, but okay, over here in my neighborhood, I know. So I don't know if we contact anybody.
Some of those should have been addressed today, as a matter of fact.
okay.
And our contractor has been contacted to make sure that they're catching up with what they need to be doing, because I noticed last week they kind of fell behind. We were already on top of that, but the pictures you sent over should have gotten addressed. I have a question about 2 of them though.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you know, on the way here, I did see somebody cutting it. And I was just hoping that, I couldn't see the city, so I was hoping that the neighbors didn't have to end up paying to cut that grass.
If
Okay.
it was in the city right away, they shouldn't have had to pay for it.
Right, okay, no, I'm saying it took us so long
I understand.
to cut that grass. I was hoping that they wasn't paying nobody. So if it should have been addressed today, that's probably one of your contractors running around there cutting.
More
So they were cutting it when I was on my way here.
They should have been, yes.
All right. You say you got a question, or you want to wait till after?
I'll wait till after.
Okay, yeah, well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Rudy, used to be y'all had 2 guys on zero turn, and I'd see those guys all the time, especially on Gulf Boulevard and Velasco Boulevard on the city's right of way. But I hadn't seen those guys. Are they still working for?
We have contractors that actually do that. Those were not our guys. Are you talking about the guy that had the?
No,
the
not
spike-
him, not him.
Okay.
No,
But,
these are 2
He's a
heavy-set
weed eater.
dudes, man. These dudes were big
but no,
dudes.
those
You butted in my
contractors were
time.
changed out last year in October.
It was kind of rude of him to interrupt you, wasn't it?
You just took over my time.
Oh, you went through?
No.
Go ahead.
No, Ricky.
Rudy was leaving.
No. Yeah, no, I was done with that question with Rudy, but, yeah. So, just want to say thank you to the residents. Thank y'all for bearing with us. I hope that, this has been a different process, with being transparent with the budget and going on. We are still learning together in the process. We're coming along. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think, council's getting better, working together. I think I can see it opening up with the new positions with Dan and Chris here, helping facilitate this whole situation. Y'all doing an excellent job with Ashley. I just can't say enough, about Ashley. So we thank all of them for all that y'all doing, the countless hours y'all doing. I mean, I know it's a lot of public requests going on, and that's a lot of work, extra. And we thank y'all for putting in the work, though. We really do appreciate it. We just want to let citizens know, hey, we are here for you, and we're trying to, change the look on Freeport and how it's been ran and how it's going to be ran. So you, men and women, voted us to sit up here and get together and do a job, and that's what we're going to try to do. We want to make sure that your voice is heard. So if you have any issues, contact me. I'll be willing to meet you or come talk to you, or I don't have no problem with it. But I just want you to know that I am fighting for transparency up here and for your voice to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Ward C, Councilman Matamoros.
Thank you, Mayor. As a liaison to the planning and zoning, I'm just going to give a quick update from the last meeting. They approved a few plats, but the biggest item on the agenda was the rezoning of the urban renewal property. There was a application to rezone it. The board unanimously denied that rezoning. The property owner wanted to rezone that property from residential to industrial. And so the board feels that that is one of our largest pieces of property to build housing on. And when it was sold with the intent of having housing built on it. So that was a positive for the city. And speaking with some of those board members after the meeting, a few of them told me that they received a phone call from a council person telling them to approve this rezoning because council has already agreed to this change. I hope that's not the case. I hope they weren't trying to intimidate them for their own gain or whatever. Just wanted to give an update on that. Number two, the other item that I've been made aware of is a board member who's on the Main Street board is going to businesses under the guise as a Main Street board member and threatening those businesses. They're setting up meetings, and then when they get to the meeting, they're berating those for unknown reasons. It has to stop. That person has done it multiple times. If it doesn't stop, they need to be removed. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Ward D, Councilman Rosso. Now it's your time to shine.
I was trying to say, Rudy, some steps. I'm like everybody. No, you're good. I want to.
Yeah, he wants to see you walk up from all the way back there, not from right here.
No, I appreciate everybody out in cyber world. I appreciate everyone that's still here. I know you're not getting paid. I like to give a shout out to the people that repaired their street lights. I was told that they were all working, and I'll ask the public that if you have a street light out, let us know. I mean, we had so many street lights out, it's not even funny. And for them not to complain, I think was pretty good. All you have to do is look on that poll. They have, I think it's 6 numbers. And you give those 6 numbers to City Hall, and they'll come out and fix that light, remove that light, whatever needs to be done. So, I don't know when your street light goes out. I know when mine does. When mine goes out, or anyone around where I live, and my wife and I will ride around and look for street lights out and turn them in. And that's what we need to do as citizens of Freeport, do that. I go with the old adage of, if you see something, say something. That's true, and that's true in everything. Garbage, cans, anything, trash, let us know. We went to an Astro game. Astros won. We had chartered a bus, senior citizen, chartered a bus. I'm probably not supposed to be telling y'all this, but that happened. that happened. You got to be 55. We got a trip. You can't go, Ashley. We got a trip to Dido's coming up on the 8th of September. You got to be 55. 55. That's the age limit. And you qualify. You don't have to pay a dime. You get to ride on a steamboat, come back to Dido's, sit down and eat. If you know a senior citizen that would like to do something like that, let us know. But I think that's a pretty good deal. Be able to go to the Astros game free and sitting in 100 section, right there where you can see everything. And then turn right around on the 8th of September, we go to Dido's. We meet most of the time once a month at the River Place. We have food, we have games, we have bingo, and we have a whole bunch of senior citizens. I don't feel like I'm a senior citizen, but I'm at that age where I qualify. They give you, they feed you. So, what else? That's all I got. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Councilman. And I too would like to thank everybody for showing up and sticking it through a long meeting like this. However, it wasn't as long as some of the recent ones have been. But I feel like it's been as productive. So thank y'all for coming out and supporting us, even those that are watching it from at home.
Mayor, may I ask to recognize Miss Marshall, also resident. She's also here, so I forgot to name her, if you want to name her.
You did skip over her a while ago.
I couldn't see over Ashley because Ashley's tall.
Mm-hmm.
And these screens are hard to look over. I'm the one that's short.
Ashley, please get shorter and older.
Thanks for being here, Miss Marshall.
And I too would like to thank the seniors, because I got to take off last Thursday and go see an Astros game with Councilman Rosso. And it was a real good time. Hey, I'm a citizen of this city, and I'm over 55. That is a requirement. So I want to thank the seniors for doing what they do, and let them know that I really had a great time. And we got to watch a great baseball game. To the folks at McDonald's in the city that coordinated it with them, I want to thank you for cutting down that bush that was blocking the exit, because really was kind of an issue to get out. I want to remind everybody once again, next weekend, September 6th, we have the Kid Fest downtown. Great time. If you have kids, or you have neighbors' kids, or some kids down the road, bring them. I'm not going to speak about Fright Night. Y'all hear enough about that between now and then. So that's all I have for this evening. Mr. Pennington, what do you got for us?
Yes, sir. On streetlights, to Councilman Rosso's point, they can go on our website and report their streetlights straight there. So if there are any streetlights they need to report, they can do that, or they can call us, either one. Also wanted to thank Chief Howell and Ashley. They both came up with a great idea to bring back the city newsletter that we do, and so that has been put in the mail. The last one went out last month. Actually got a very kind, quick, brief note that I was going to read from a very sweet lady here in Freeport. I know her. She wrote, "Hello, Miss City Secretary. I just want to thank you for the new Freeport newsletter. It's wonderful, every single part of it. Employee anniversaries, community events, now hiring, projects. It reminds me a little of the Three Penny Press that we did at high school. Such a warm feeling of family and friendship. Y'all are all doing such a good job of governing our city. I love living in Freeport. Much love," and I'll keep her name anonymous, but she's a very nice lady. So I just want to give her a shout out, as well as Ashley and Chief Howe, for bringing that back. Everybody, the different department heads have a different month, and so each one of them, or sometimes they'll be sharing it, will be going out in the water bill, so do be looking for that. We did put up some doors at City Hall to try to section off sort of the public area from the private area. We had a few, what I would call security lapses, where people just came into City Hall and barged into people's offices, sometimes with their dogs. That was today. Sometimes in boxers only. That was my first day, and I had accused the chief of paying someone to run through City Hall in their boxers, but it was legitimate. That was my first day, and so she wasn't sure if I was coming back. So anyway, I said I will if we put doors up. So there are going to be some doors there for security reasons, obviously, for the personnel there. So that's really all I have, sir.
We got one thing that I forgot. Rudy, are we spraying for mosquitoes? Now come back up here to the mic. There's a lot of people out there want to hear this answer.
I'm here to make the same comment that all the citizens did. After the weekend, I walked outside to walk my dog, and he was completely covered with mosquitoes. So this morning, the first thing I walked in and said, we are spraying for mosquitoes tonight, correct? And we will be spraying for a few different nights this week.
West 1700 block of West 10th. If they want to make 2 or 3 passes, we're perfectly fine with that.
Yes, sir. And the thing to remember too is if rain is falling, we're not able to go with mosquitoes. And the mosquito truck is also GPS, also, so the speed doesn't. I mean, we need to be underneath the speed limits, but it's rated off of GPS on the flow rates.
He can just pull up in front of the house and
If
he can
pulls
sit
up
there.
and stops, and it goes shuts off because it's on GPS.
We got to figure something out here. But good, yes, the mosquitoes have been ferocious lately. You had something, Dad?
Yeah, just one thing. What Dan just brought up, I did get some, two people appreciated that new newsletter. So, Ashley and Chief, you say,
them.
Chief Howell?
That was all them.
Y'all did a great job. The citizens are loving that new newsletter that's coming in the mail. We want to thank y'all for that. And I think the mayor has already announced about the road, but man, I'm just enjoying this road. I'm just enjoying. I got to thank TechStop for what they doing out there on the road. I mean, and it's been raining hard. To answer one of your questions you had back in the day about drainage, it's draining pretty good. It's not too many water puddles going in through the water when you're riding on the road. But I mean, my poor truck just took a beating, and it's just rattling everywhere. But now smooth.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now 9:17. We're going to close this regular meeting of the Freeport City Council and go into executive session. Executive session regarding A, Texas Government Code Section 551.074, personal matters, to deliberate the appointment, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, or dismissal of a public officer or employee, or to hear a complaint or charge against an officer or employee. Legal services.